The GBC will be. Now, when I say GBC, I don't necessarily mean members of the GBC. Members of the GBC are devotees of Krishna who are doing well or not so well, right? But the GBC and the people stuck to them are a serious problem against the progress of Krishna consciousness in the world. And Prabhupada described it as we didn't understand it at the time. I didn't understand it at the time, as a sinister movement within our society. When they refused to become, you see, the ideal thing is the elected GBC, because that means the temples can run themselves. When they made a big organization, and then they took the temples and organized, incorporated them all into one big international incorporation, that was the opposite of what Prabhupada wanted. And the result is, you can see the result, it's turning into a nightmare, a horrible, sluggish nightmare. So one way or another, we need to get the temples back from ISKCON. And of course, the best way to do that is not us coming in on horses with swords and lances and stuff like that, like knights. That's not the way to do it. The way for us to do it is to make it seem so attractive for people to have Prabhupada as their guru. And when we do that, as Lenny Sislak is beginning to do, and we get more people doing that, this will go like wildfire. People will go crazy for having Prabhupada as the guru, because after all, the only attractive part of Krishna consciousness is Prabhupada. And we should say even Krishna, who is all attractive, is not particularly attractive unless he's introduced by the pure devotee of the Lord. Otherwise, he's just an oil painting, you know? And we're stuck with a thing like the Catholic Church, where you have lots of statues of Jesus, but no turning of the other cheek and no loving your neighbor as yourself. So anyhow, we're at the crucial moment, and I think if Lenny Sislak is to be believed and understood, we are going to go forward with him and others until we have tons of people saying they want Prabhupada's recordings as the guru, not some other guy. Does that make sense? Lenny, does that make sense to you at all?
Hare Krishna.
What happened to Lenny Sislak?
Makes sense.
There's no Lenny Sislak
not
here.
Lenny Sislak. I mean, I'm sorry, I mean, Vinayak.
Vinayak, yes. Jai Vinayak.
You know, it seems that people have the capacity to be attracted to Prabhupada, or why did they come to ISKCON to begin with, you know?
Yeah. Okay. So let me give Rupa the host. Okay, so let me get this. Okay. All right, so let me share the screen. Let's see. Okay. All right. So looks like Vinayak Prabhu has a question about the direction of management. I have a question.
Well,
I have a question.
Let him talk to you about it too.
Yeah, it's saying then why? I have a question. If the DOM direction of management was not followed from 71 to 77, why did Srila Prabhupada did not correct that time? Wasn't it a silent approval by Srila Prabhupada?
What? What's the last word?
Wasn't it a silent approval by Srila Prabhupada about the conduct?
No, quite the opposite. He's tricollegial. He can see past, present, and future. Are we going to say that he didn't see that they were going to poison it? Is that silent approval to be a poison? No, that's the horrible thing about it, is Prabhupada's main powerful men rebelled against him and created the unelected GBC that gained more and more power over the years, even when Srila Prabhupada was here. Now, it's not his approval. It is that he had to endure it. What could he do? I mean, if he was Parsaram, we know exactly what he would do. He'd pull out a sword or a bow and arrow and shoot them all. But then, okay, supposing you shot them all, then who would open temples? Who would preach, you know? He had to take what he had. And if that makes, do you think that makes Prabhupada weaker? Or in my case, I look at it as making Prabhupada almost unbelievably stronger. How many people can sit in the midst of an enemy and get what they want done, even if the enemy has destroyed the very basis of what he wanted to see happen for the ISKCON movement? He ended up with so many big temples. He ended up with so many things. But they've run out of steam. Lenny, does that make sense to you at all?
Again, Lenny's not here. It's Vinayak.
Vinayak, I'm sorry. Vinayak, does that make sense to you? Sorry.
Okay, Lenny.
Vinayak, my obeisances to you. My apologies to you. But all I can say is if I confuse you with Lenny, it's sort of a compliment because Lenny's has written some things that are absolutely mind-boggling in the last few hours, I would say. So anyhow, let's keep going with Vinayak Prabhu.
Okay, Vinayak Prabhu, so you can type your questions or comments in the chat or message.
You handle it, okay?
Sure. Okay, let's see. Let me load up the screen here, then we'll get going here. Where is this? Krishna. Okay. Yeah, let's see what I was going to say. Okay, here we go. Who's here? Okay, then Vinayak Prabhu asked, thank you, Prabhu, but did Srila Prabhupada give some indication about disapproval about GBC's conduct?
Constantly. If you read his comments, you will say everything, including kill guru, become guru. All of that stuff was there, but buried inside of there. You see, remember, the GBC was the good old boys and they could say, Prabhupada said this, Prabhupada meant this, Prabhupada wants this, without the population of devotees ever seeing that that was simply something created by them. But I mean, if they were doing so well, why did the Gurukul students become molested? Prabhupada set things up so that the Gurukul students would not be molested. So the GBC from the very start was trying to destroy the Gurukulis so that they could remain in power. And it's just horrendous. What Prabhupada had to tolerate is horrendous. But the fact is that's 52 years past, 52 years ago. Right now, it is in our hands to rectify this. Now, Lenny, do you think for even a minute that all these horrible things were things that Prabhupada wanted to see happen?
It's not Lenny, it's Lenny Srila.
What am I saying? Vinayak Prabhu.
No, Lenny, it's Lenny Srila.
Yeah, I had a CT scan today, and they injected me with different things that left me quite groggy. So I'm sort of groggy, so I apologize.
It's okay.
So Ramachandra, why don't you try explaining so I don't make it a fool of myself any further?
Okay. All right. So, Vinayak Prabhu, we'll talk to you later. So we have this document here.
Why are we talking? Why talking to him later? Didn't he want some answers to questions?
Then he asked a further question. What Srila Prabhupada, he was in full power back then to correct them. So
Yeah, like if he was like if he was not approving
Was
them, then why he could
is,
not correct?
is that the role of the pure devotee? To be in full power?
Yeah,
that's a good
like
question.
on my order,
Is
like
the pure
Amara,
devotee's role? You see, the GBC was in full power because they made themselves into feudal nobility of the Middle Ages of Europe. They turned themselves into a quasi-religious military force the way the Catholic Church did in the Middle Ages. When you say Prabhupada was in full power, do you know when the spiritual master is in full power? It's when the disciple is surrendered at his lotus feet and does not object to anything. The minute that someone objects to the pure devotee no longer has full power because the disciple has rejected that power. You
yeah,
see?
but if that's the case, then that's not a disciple, because disciple means discipline.
That's why we have a hard time. Why Vinayak has a hard time to see this is that we're looking at it through Western eyes, through military eyes, through
Corporate eyes.
yeah, and we think that might makes right. But the question of the disciple of the spiritual master who's a pure devotee is surrender. You surrender to the pure devotee. You don't figure out ways of cheating him, tricking him, and then murdering him. But that's so Western, you see. Murdering the spiritual master is so common, or murdering the leader is so common, that everyone thinks that must be a sign that Prabhupada approved of everything. How would Prabhupada approve of people not surrendering to him? At what point does a pure devotee say, okay, I'm a Kali Yuga guru, you don't have to surrender to me. Do your own thing, use your own mind, come up with your own ideas, and then come to me and ask me to okay them. That's not how the spiritual master works. The spiritual master is representing Krishna. If I want to make spiritual advancement, I go to the spiritual master, I bow down and say, please take me, and I will follow your melodies. I will follow your instruction. I will take your words as the words of God coming through your mouth, of the words of Krishna coming through your mouth. I will not disagree with you. I will not come up with an alternative view to you. That's the disciple. So Vinayak Prabhu, when they were all in direct sociological, political, and practically military opposition to Prabhupada, at what point would you say that Prabhupada said, that's fine, that's the new way a guru is treated nowadays? Does that make sense? Ramachandra is there?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. How can we say that the pure devotee is going to suddenly cease to be the spiritual master and then become the spiritual
Also, like one more thing.
of criminal men? So you may say if Prabhupada went along with any of this, he didn't really go along with it. They created it, and Prabhupada was in the middle as the advisor to everyone. So Srila Prabhupada carefully constructed ways with great difficulty. If he had been followed, if everyone had surrendered at his lotus feet, there would have been extremely wonderful things happening in the Yeah, in the years after when Prabhupada created the GBC. If that had all happened the way Prabhupada wanted, was elected GBC, we would have had a wonderful movement that was growing, and he would have floated in and floated out of temples the way he did at the beginning, where people would just be in ecstasy and chanting his melodies, not no hard and fast rules melodies. That no hard and fast rules did not apply to melodies. The melody comes from the spiritual master. That no hard and fast rule was a trick created by the GBC. No hard and fast rules is there in the Guru Vastakam, but it refers to how there's no hard and fast rules as to who is able to chant the holy name. Consider that a Malacha could not chant the holy name before Lord Chaitanya. So when he said no hard and fast rules, that is breaking open the storehouse of love of God. You see? It is completely devastating the entire Vedic culture. The whole Vedic culture is smashed to pieces by Lord Chaitanya. Why? Because it was already smashed to pieces by the Muslims and the Mughals. No more need for the Vedic culture. We can read about it in the time of Krishna. We can admire, but how many of these emperors do you read about in the time of the last 5,000 years that did anything to support Bharat Svarsa? How many of them did? They were all burned over. They were taken over by the Muslims, by the Mughals. And so Lord Chaitanya came, he said, enough, enough. This is an end. And you can just chant as though your life depended on it, which is exactly the correct situation. Chant as though your life depended on chanting. And who can chant? Well, he's not a Brahmin. He doesn't know his Gotra. You know, Gotra is the lineage coming from the original Prajapatis. He doesn't know his Gotra. He doesn't have it. He's not from a pious family. He's not even a Brahmin. He's not even a Vaishya. He's a Shudra. He's not even a Shudra. He's a Malacha. He can't chant. That's not allowable. They scream in the street. And Lord Chaitanya said, no, there's no hard and fast rules for chanting. The Malacha can chant. The dog eater can chant. Why not? Is the dog eater not spirit soul? This is what Lord Chaitanya was up against. So essentially, Lord Chaitanya effectively destroyed every religion on earth. Does that mean that they went away? Unfortunately not. Christianity remained, Islam remained, Judaism remained.
Buddhism
Remained, it was innocent, and Zoroastrianism remained.
Jainism.
Yeah, these are nice religions, those ones. But nonetheless, they too will not be able to go onward until they give up and chant Hare Krishna. So then we get to Prabhupada creating ISKCON. He creates ISKCON with the GBC to be elected every 3 years. He made a republic, just like the United States is a republic, meaning the GBC, by electing other GBCs, are senators. They're like senators. What does a senator do? He represents his state. And in the case of the GBC and the GBC, what is the state? The state is the temple. Each temple is a state. That's what Prabhupada wanted. He wanted it to be a lowerarchy, not a hierarchy. But no, we have to have this heaped up stack of garbage taken literally from the Catholic Church. The GBC even says that they are the ultimate ecclesiastic authority of ISKCON. which is completely a bastardization because it's taken directly from the Catholic Church, describing the Pope, that the Pope is the ultimate ecclesiastic authority of the church. But they can't say that in ISKCON because they have so many gurus and none of them are ultimate anythings. So they made a lie, a big lie. And they borrowed or stole or took the lie from the Catholic Church. So you can see that they're not trying to follow Prabhupada at all. So you might say, Vinayak says, I think if Prabhupada didn't stop it and correct it, then he must have
Condoned it.
yes. He must have said, okay, it's okay. But I'm saying sometimes you can be in the middle of a rebellion against the good guys, and you can manage that rebellion against the good guys to get some good results. What did he get? He got a lot of temples like Krishna Balaram Temple, Bombay Temple. It wasn't easy. Were they the designs that he wanted? No. He wanted different designs. Did anyone give a rat's ass if Prabhupada got what he wanted? No. They wanted to do it their way. So they all went on and just said, as long as it's like a little kid, naughty little kid. He says, as long as mommy doesn't stop me, I can do what I'm doing. So he keeps on doing more and more and more naughty things. But in the case of a child, you can grab the child and punish them, spank them, or put them in the corner. But in the case of adult devotees, you can't do that. It's all voluntary. And what happens when a voluntary group of people, more or less as a whole, rejects and goes against their spiritual master and practically says to the pure devotee of the Lord, who is the transparent via medium of Krishna, what happens to a movement when they say, no, Prabhupada, you're wrong, and we are right, and you are wrong? That's essentially what they said to Prabhupada. There's letters to that effect, where they basically said, Prabhupada, you sit tight and write books, which we will sell, change and sell, and we will run the movement according to American corporate structure.
Yeah.
You're Indian, you don't know, you're an Indian guru, you don't know anything about corporate structure. So we will supply a global corporation of ISKCON, and we will make every temple part of that global corporation. That's not what he wanted. Did he not want it because he was naive? Or did he not want it because he had a better idea?
He didn't want it because he knew that it would destroy what he was trying to do.
Which it has. They've come along in 52 years, they've come along to a point where they really have their heads up each other's butts and they don't know what to do now. No breathing room when you do that. So we've come along to change that. And we can. And I'll this time accurately say Lenny Sislak wrote a fantastic page. I was trying to find it and copy it, but it kept on running away. But it'll show up again. Where he was talking just like us, that we need Prabhupada's kirtans that are on recordings, and we'll have kirtan that's pure, and we don't have to worry about gurus anymore. Why do we need gurus? I mean, people just want a guru to, like a Boy Scout leader, you know. They want the guru at the front of the room of the Hindu temple. Don't need it. Don't need it. If Prabhupada is the guru, everyone can chant his melodies. You know, study his melodies. Put on earphones and hear his melodies. Hear his melodies day and night. Or at least 2 hours a day, hear the melodies. Then later on in the day, you'll have kirtan. You'll have artik. And then during that artik, everyone will have heard Prabhupada chanting the artik. They will all chant like Prabhupada. It'll be sublime. Nobody has to touch bases with anybody else. You just listen to the same recording. Then when the artik comes up, it's the same artik. It's sublime. How is it sublime? Because it all comes from Prabhupada. It doesn't have to be derived from somewhere else. Anyhow, keep going, guys. Keep going. Is Ramachandra still with us?
No, he's driving.
He's driving. Okay, so Rupa, what do you want to do? Or how about Vinayak? What does he want to do? Because he was bringing up some really important points.
Vinayak Sharma, do you have something you'd like to say?
Yeah, just the thing about like how it would go on, because convincing these people is really difficult because most of the devotees in the movement don't even use internet.
Who is speaking?
Vinayak said he said it would be very difficult to convince people because many of the members of ISKCON don't even use the internet.
They don't?
Yes.
That's interesting. Why not?
On if you will see, like in India, there are thousands of devotees. They are mostly equipped throughout the days in their services, and they don't get enough time to delve into these points. So,
Yeah, but don't they
who
have
is-
cell phones?
yeah, they have, but they are also busy, like in different work, because I've seen this in temples, like more services in temples, communicating with people, and they hardly get any time to just look about the history and everything about the things, and just wait and think about what's happening. So I think it's also the covering of Maya that has been covering them.
Well, can't they be encouraged to take half an hour or an hour each day to go over what people are saying on the internet? Give them a sense of power that they don't have. If they tap into things, they'll read things that people in America are saying, people in India are saying. Won't that open their hearts and their minds to a bigger world than the one that they're living in?
I don't know, but practically this is not working. Like I have seen like 25, 30-year-old people in like not like 30-year-old devotees who are into the movement since 25, 30 years. They don't know much about these issues and everything, history and all these things.
Well, what if
They are
you
just
supply them?
fanboys of some of these people.
Okay, what if we supply them with pages to go to?
Yeah, so they have a
Mes-
prejudice about
messenger.
these things. So
Well,
there is a prejudice about these things that this is kind of propaganda by some envious people. So
that's
it's
the
not.
beginning, of course. That's what they think to
Yeah.
begin with. But won't they change their mind once they get involved? Everybody, you may say, oh, playing soccer is a stupid thing to do. But when you get out on the soccer field and start kicking the ball, you say, oh, it's a wonderful thing to do. A lot of it depends on taking part.
Yeah, it may be sad, but still, like maybe the thing that I'm thinking now, the positive thing that could be happening, like the individual people just start individual movements from scratch and make it
Well,
big.
yeah, so we invite them. Of course, not everyone is doing it, and not everyone
Yeah.
will do it if we suggest that they could do it. But if we keep on inviting people politely, oh, why don't you tap in, figure out what's a good site that people are talking about stuff intelligently. Then when they get on, they'll say, I didn't realize I had the power to take part. You see what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
many of times like individual devotees are doing a lot of efforts, like trying to do some programs in their cities on Sundays, weekends, doing distribution, harinams. But most of them are not powerful enough to just make them grow into a movement or a big temple which can sustain for many years. So these things just happen for like 1 or 2 or few years. People are coming, people like some festivals being celebrated, people's joining, some people being preached. After that, it goes down. He changes city or something happens to the leading guy,
Well,
and
that's what takes time, doesn't it? It takes time,
yeah.
but it's sort of like, to me, it seems inevitable. To me, it seems inevitable that people will be able to communicate who never communicated before, right?
So what future I can see is like, for example, in Jaipur, there is this branch of Sri Sampradaya, which is called Ramanandi. So they also have this kind of parampara, in which now it has become a seminal succession. So the father is a acharya, the son becomes acharya, his son becomes acharya, and no matter what son does, he chews tobacco or smokes cigarette, but he's the acharya. And
Oh
they
yeah,
have
but
big
but
temple.
we have to overlook all of this because for people to because that's people are stuck with family tradition, religious tradition, Hindu traditions, whatever tradition. This stuff and even Hindu tradition has become sort of peculiar, right? It doesn't pure anymore.
So I see the similar thing happening here, like in upcoming 50 or 100 years. Incompetent people taking over it.
Yeah, but the thing is, it won't take that long because in the world of cyber worlds, of metaverse, people are going to be moving much quicker than they dreamed was possible. And there's a little secret to it. Nobody wants to be left behind. I mean, how many of these people you're talking about would like to be permanently left behind? You know what I mean? How many of them would like to be permanently left in the dust? Or would they like to be in the front lines and included? Not now, not tomorrow, not the day after tomorrow, but someday. Yeah, we shouldn't be pessimistic. People, everything is moving in such a way, like Elon Musk with his taking over Twitter. It's going to make a huge difference to the way people communicate with each other. So they can join in themselves, or they can almost join in themselves, or whatever, you know. Does it make sense? Our job is to open the minds of people. Can we do it with the internet? Yes. Can we do it with cell phones? Yes. Can we do it mouth to ear? Yes. I mean, the whole point is if we believe in what we're doing, then what we need to do will come about and it'll be best. The best outcome will occur. Doesn't it make sense? Now, Rupa, do you want to add some commentary? I think it would be great for you to do that.
Well, the thing is I kind of share Vinayak's perspective, which is that it's not easy to gather up and galvanize people to a new cause, especially when they've been taught and instructed and brainwashed how to do it the GBC way.
Right. But don't things go ahead anyhow? I mean, doesn't Facebook go ahead anyhow? doesn't Twitter go ahead anyhow? You could use those arguments right in the face of Facebook or Twitter.
Mhm.
You could say, it's so hard to do, it's blah, blah, blah. But if you look at them, they're doing it. Some people are and some people aren't. The whole point is for us to create, the whole purpose is for us to create it's up to us to create the structure which people will want. But we can say, oh, it's so hard. Well, it's not easy, or it's neither easy nor hard. It's like trying to tell your strict aunt something that she doesn't want to hear. Well, it takes a while. Maybe she'll, and then when you give up, she says, you know, I've been thinking about what you've been saying about Krishna consciousness, and I really can't find anything wrong with it. And then you faint because you didn't realize your aunt was capable of that. So let's just take into account that whatever preaching we do is having an effect on the people who say they don't like to hear it.
Okay, we have Ramachandra and Mohit joining us.
Jai. So take over, boss.
You like
Hare-
Prabhupada? Go ahead, Mohit Prabhu. Yes.
No. Hare Krishna, Hare Bol, Jai, Dandavat Pranam Prabhu.
Rupa,
Uh,
you share some nice points about how people have been brainwashed, but this brainwashing in the when we talk about brainwashing, we talk about how they've understood Krishna consciousness from the corporate ISKCON which they created. But now, since a lot of Prabhupada disciples are dying, meaning that they're going to the next body, they are getting ready to elect more and more ridiculous gurus. So it will just get worse. So
yeah, and they're going to the next body. My question is, where?
No, we're not there yet, but
Okay, go ahead.
No, yeah. So as we go in the future, things will get even more and more ridiculous. So now we're talking about Prabhupada being in the center. So in the future, maybe in 10, 15, 20 years, when a lot of these first generation Prabhupada disciples are gone, they will have like third or fourth generation gurus, and it will get more and more absurd. So
well, what did Thakur Bhaktivinoda say about third and fourth generation gurus?
Well, the first generation, they were killing each other, so it'll just gonna get worse.
Well, yeah, but why? What is it called?
Oh, sectarianism. This is what's growing with the whole ICC and the Bureau. Everyone is disagreeing. So unless there's a solution back to Srila Prabhupada in the center, like Prabhupada says, then that's the only way to progress.
Yeah,
I mean,
and why? Because the sectarianism begins after the pure devotee speaks. He speaks, obviously, to people like me, who are fallen souls with huge histories of bad karma attached to them. So when that happens, then I preach to somebody, and then somebody else preaches to somebody. It turns even more sectarian. So that if you have like the pure devotees speaking to 20 people, and they each go off and start temples of their own, after 5 or 6 generations, it's going to be a bit of a mess. Wouldn't you say?
oh yeah, it's already a mess. I can see it locally and worldwide. So
Well, yeah, but that's because of sectarianism, right?
yeah.
So the sectarianism means that whatever you learned becomes the truth. That's what sectarianism means. Whatever I learned now must be considered to be true. And if you argue with me, then you're against it. You're against the truth. So that means that we have to go back to the source, to the pure devotee, and not allow sectarianism to develop But what did the GBC do? And this is what Vinayak was talking about, is that the GBC and all the ISKCON devotees all wanted to do it. I want to do it my way. It's in the words of Frank Sinatra. They want to do everything their own way.
Well, do it. It won't last.
Right. Well, it didn't last. It hasn't lasted. So,
Yeah, that's what I'm experiencing here
So,
and everywhere
yeah,
else.
well, yeah, so we shouldn't be surprised. We shouldn't be surprised. What
But
you're
we-
experiencing is perfectly normal
Yeah. But
for the situation.
we have
Now,
to.
yeah. So what we're proposing now is going back to Prabhupada's recorded kirtans as the only source of spiritual enlightenment for the golden age of Kali. Well, that's going back to the original speaker, the pure devotee sound vibration. Then whoever hears will hear imperfectly. That's one big difference, hearing imperfectly from the pure devotee from a recording and pretending to be carrying on the tradition of the pure devotee by going generation after generation of people that don't have hardly ever heard the pure devotee. Does that make sense?
Yes.
In other words, the whole point is to go back to the pure devotee. And as far as I know, there's only one pure devotee.
Jai.
So go ahead.
Okay, so I got this quote that I'm reading from my email now here. This is Hindus coming to Vrindavan. This was sent to Rupa Manjari and myself. Narayan Prabhu, you sent it. So I'll just read it slowly. This is a quote from Chaitanya Chaitamrita Madhya Leela lecture, New York, January 2nd, 1967. Srila Prabhupada says, so, although Vrindavan is a place for personalists, now all impersonalists
what?
schools in India,
A place for what?
personalists, now all the impersonalists school of India, they're making their ashram at Vrindavan. So Prabhupada is saying that even Vrindavan is a place for personalists, meaning people who believe Krishna is a person. Now, Srila Prabhupada says, all the impersonalist school of India, they're making their ashram at Vrindavan because they have failed to achieve the sense of God anywhere. They are coming to Vrindavan. It is such a nice place. Here, Lord Chaitanya says, Goloka, Gokula Dhama, Krishna Shama. Just like Krishna is unlimited, similarly, his place is also unlimited. It is not limited by material laws. Similarly, his name is unlimited. When you chant Hare Krishna, the Hare Krishna, this name, the holy name, has got unlimited potency. Simply, you have to realize it. Even God is present before us. We cannot realize it. When Krishna was present before us on this earth, not that all people of the world or all people of India could recognize. Only few people, the Pandavas and the inhabitants of Vrindavan, inhabitants of Dwarka, some of them could understand. So it requires training only. Otherwise, the unlimited God can be seen even within the limited sphere of material existence. Then Prabhupada says, so when Krishna or God comes, he's not out of his eternal abode because he's absolute. Wherever God is present, his absolute abode is there. All right. So Prabhupada is saying in this quote, January 2nd, 1967, that Vrindavan is a place for personalists. But now all the impersonalist schools of India, they're making their ashram at India. So,
Oh, sure. It's just like all the Hindus are taking shelter of ISKCON temples. because it's a more comfortable thing than a Hindu temple.
Yeah. Yeah. So we
And
would
so
discuss.
the impersonalists don't have to do. If you're an impersonalist, what do you have to do? You just go to India. You just go to Vrindavan, and you can sit on a mat. You can sit on you can buy a space. You can rent a space. You can get disciples, and they'll build you a space. And then you're all set. You're in Vrindavan, and whatever you say has to be true because people come to Vrindavan to hear the truth.
Yeah.
Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So go ahead.
So Prabhupada is saying Prabhupada also uses here an example when Krishna was present before us on this earth, not that all people of the world or all people of India could recognize, only a few people, the Pandavas and the inhabitants of Vrindavan, inhabitants of Dwarka, some of them could understand. So this can be applied to Srila Prabhupada too, the most confidential servant descending from Krishna Loka coming down. Not many people can understand these things that we're talking about. It's not out for the masses.
Yeah, and particularly since Vinayak raised some very good points as to, well, if Prabhupada is the big enchilada and he's in charge of everything, and the GBC did such and so, he must have approved of it. Otherwise, why didn't he stop it?
Yeah.
Right.
So we cannot expect everyone to immediately take this process up. I mean, Prabhupada is using here an example that when Krishna was present, not everyone understood his position or could understand who he was, right? So only the blessed souls or the pure devotees were able to understand. So, something like this, Krishna consciousness movement started by Srila Prabhupada, we see the masses of people, even in Srila Prabhupada's movement, being taught wrongly. They have a very difficult time understanding these things, that Prabhupada is the guru, he's in the center, there's many things being neglected, and they are failing to recognize these things.
Exactly. The thing is, what they need to recognize is that Srila Prabhupada is an Uttamadhikari. He is the servant of the servant of the servant of you. He is your servant. And in that mood, we have to surrender to him as he is. And if we just say, oh, he's so surrendered, that's cool, I'll use his surrender to make my career work. You see?
Yeah, that's what everyone.
I'll capitalize on his humility,
Yes.
because he will always be humble. Just like when Tamal Krishna came to Prabhupada straightforwardly in front of the Ayurvedic doctor in Vrindavan and said, Prabhupada, who's poisoning you? You know what would have been an appropriate answer for someone like you or me? You would have raised your arm, pointed at the wall, you son of a bitch, you. But that he's a pure devotee. He can't do that.
Yeah.
Well, that happened in Vrindavan, in Mayapur, when I was in London, I guess I was London, yeah. When I was with Prabhupada designing the Mayapur temple, and I told him it would be nice to build a house, sort of a building next to off the temple. I designed it so if you go on a parikram of the temple, at the back behind the deities, you'd walk up some stairs and you'd go into a space that would be Prabhupada's space. And I said to Prabhupada, this is what we like to build. We have an idea to build you a nice place, a nice house. And Prabhupada just looked at us point blank, said, I do not require. Then we looked at him, we didn't argue with him, we didn't override him. We surrendered to his view, but said, but Srila Prabhupada, where will you stay? He said, I just need a simple cot. mean cottage. It's a nice idea, and probably might have been a better idea. But we said, but Prabhupada, people are going to be coming to Mayapur from all over India and the world, and they're going to come and they're going to want to have your darshan. And if they come there and you're in a little humble hut and it's raining with the monsoon, what are you going to do? Have them sitting out in the rain? We need some way of protecting. Wouldn't you say we should have a way of sheltering these pilgrims? He said, yes. Very certain said, yes. He said, so we can build a structure where these people will be. Now, wherever you live, you can come in from the temple, say, and talk to them without the rain and have a nice experience there. They will have a nice experience hearing the explanations of what you're doing, what your mission is from you. Prabhupada liked that idea. So anyhow, then I finally said, if we have that place set up like that, certainly there should be some cooking facility so that we can quickly give some prasadam to them. And excuse me, oops, give some prasadam. We need to give prasadam to them and water, stuff like that. And Prabhupada said yes. I said, and also upstairs from that room, might it be a nice idea to have a space where your servant could be. I was thinking of the ISKCON temples around the world, where your servant could be preparing things for you, and also a space where you could lie down and rest sometimes, as just to be, just as a nice place for you to lie down and rest. And Prabhupada said yes. So by the time we finished, the idea that I created for a dwelling for Srila Prabhupada was 100% manifested. But he could not be told, he would not say, build me a nice place. He said, I want a simple cot. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's a great story.
And it's a true story. So in the end, I developed the whole idea, designed an incredibly beautiful place for Srila Prabhupada to live. And then because of Mayapur being so incredible, I designed it with a balcony. And Prabhupada might have asked for a balcony going all the way around, where he could chant japa, which he could also see into the community and outside the community. And then I said, well, it's sort of L-shaped. In that L shape, we could have, to make the L shape into a square, we could have a garden. And Prabhupada was very happy about that. And he said, in that garden, there could be ponds, little bridges over the ponds, swans, and lotus flowers. And Prabhupada lurched forward, amused, and said, and demigods? So you can see it went a very far travel from the humble cot to wondering if demigods were going to be there in the garden as well. So that's the nature of the pure devotee. That's the nature of the pure devotee. So we have to take into account that when we're dealing with the pure devotee, we have to come from that platform forward. If you want the pure devotee to say something, Tamal knew Prabhupada more than pretty much anybody else on earth. He had become what you call it. He had become so absorbed in Prabhupada's nature that he could imitate his gestures, his thoughts, his feelings, everything, but it was all by copying, not by true representation, or certainly not by discipleship. It was imitation. So when Tamal said, "Who is poisoning you, Prabhupada?" he knew exactly that Prabhupada would not say, "You, Tamal." He knew he wouldn't. Just like when I said, "Prabhupada, what sort of house would you like to live in?" I don't require a house, just a simple car. So that's all I'd like to say on that part. Okay, I just wanted to give that sense of what Prabhupada was like, so that we can understand who we're dealing with even now. Even now, we need to approach Prabhupada in his kirtan form with straw in mouth, folded hands, bowing before him, because he's a pure devotee and he will never fight us. And he will never fight for his own ideas. He presents something, it's the job of the disciple to accept it. Inconceivable. There's not a single person on the Zoom call who can even imagine that the duty of the disciple is to accept the slightest mention uttered by the pure devotee. Nobody can imagine that, because we're so used to being in ISKCON, GBC ISKCON, where you do your own thing.
I have a
And
question.
then you get the approval of somebody to do it, like a guru, for instance.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Srila Prabhupada tolerated the his disciples not implementing the DOM. Yet when I've watched the Prabhupada memories time and time again, I see his disciples saying how he very strongly would command them, to do something this way or a certain that way. So why didn't he have that same strong approach with the DOM?
If you look at the letters that were written, he did. They even had an illegal GBC meeting where they made Treya Rishi into a GBC without any election. It was clearly, if you're facing a clear overthrow, an overthrow of the legitimate government, if you're an outrage, really, how can we describe what they did in accurate terms without wanting to kill them, or kill ourselves for that matter, for having witnessed it? He went throughout everything. They rejected the DOM. What was he going to do? Say, now I want elections from the temples? They had already gone beyond that. They'd refused. And we have the letters. Rupa Manjari, you have the letters that step by step indicate how they rejected doing the DOM. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
I mean, people would like to think that everything is going well in ISKCON because we have big temples and we have big sannyasis and big gurus and big this and big that. But we don't. That's not a great thing. What we are lacking, what we are missing out of the entire picture is even one person humbly surrendering to Srila Prabhupada.
Yes, like you said, everyone is trying to cash in, by using Srila Prabhupada for their own personal, sense gratification, more or less,
Exactly.
Some more subtle, some more gross. But just like that video we saw, Indradumna was dancing and he threw some girl or some boy on the ground and just put his feet on his head. That was just
Oh, that's the big guru.
Yeah.
Blessing the child with his foot.
Yeah. So that's like insanity. Prabhupada never did anything like that.
Haribol, please send the
No.
video.
Of course not.
Haribol, please send the
But
video to
these
me.
guys say, we are our own type of guru, so we will do it our way. So that's the sectarianism. I'm not going to be a disciple of Prabhupada and surrender to him. I'm going to be my own sort of guru and do it my way.
Yeah.
So that's
So
the great.
this is what we're dealing with in the worldwide movement. So that's why there's difficulty, because everyone wants to do it their own way. The GBC, each individual person, and collectively. I mean, if you sit down with the appointed gurus in one room and ask them to discuss, they'll come up with all kinds of understanding. And this is portrayed throughout the different temples. Some of them are more.
But look, it comes naturally. If you're in the hood, and some guys got all the methadone and all the quaaludes and all the drugs, and he's in charge, and he says, "Hey, I'm the boss here." And the other guy says, "Well, I'm the assistant boss here. I'm the assistant to the assistant boss here." Isn't that the way the material world works?
Yes. Yes.
If you look at the history of the world, Alexander the Great got where he was by killing tons of people that didn't want him to do what he was doing. So this is who joined Prabhupada. A bunch of guys that wanted to be big shot leaders, even if it meant not surrendering to Prabhupada. Right now, the deal that's on the table is, are we, after 52 years, are we ready to surrender to Prabhupada? We don't even need to know what that means. Are we simply ready to surrender? Are we willing to surrender to Prabhupada? Finally.
Yeah, one devotee asked me, Ronald, we can go preach and then, help people become devotees. But when they need a guru, who will we make them surrender to? Meaning that he was suggesting to recommend some type of guru. I was like, isn't Prabhupada sufficient? And this person has been a devotee for like 30 years. Meaning that this has been chanting for a long time. But he still doesn't understand that Prabhupada's physical presence and the Vani presence is non-different.
Yeah. So in other words, we are at the worst place in spiritual history.
Yes.
We're at a place where the bona fide spiritual master who came from Krishna Loka was rejected.
Right.
Or they kept the assets but rejected the instructions of the person. So where is that different than the Catholic Church? Jesus comes and then they kill him, and then the next thing you know, they're making a whole business out of it, out of Jesus dying. Constantine did. He became an emperor and then a pope, which is all material. The same thing as GBC.
Yeah.
So at some point, people need to say,
Enough is enough.
Words of Narottam Das Thakur. Hare Krishna comes straight from Krishna Loka. But with chanting, I have no connection. Day and night, I'm burning in this dark world without working to make the correction. So that's Narottam Das Thakur is lamenting that the Hare Krishna mantras come from Krishna Loka, but with chanting, I have no connection. So that's the problem. Narottam Das Thakur is a pure devotee. Of course he has connection. He is the connection. But he's saying, with chanting, I have no connection. Day and night, I'm in this dark world without working to make the correction. So he's talking for us. Oh, the day and night I'm burning in this dark world without working to make the correction. So what's the difference between that and what we have done to Prabhupada? It's the same thing, isn't it? Day and night we are burning in this dark world without working to make the correction.
Yeah, we have some comments from our devotee friends online. Devotee,
Great.
Let's see who is there.
So our job right now is to rectify the situation. Prabhupada used the word rectify. I'd like to do this before we answer the questions. We need to rectify the situation, meaning we have to turn it around and say, all right, it is time for us to put our heads at the feet of the spiritual master as the spiritual master, not as somebody who's empowering us to do whatever we want to do.
So Bhakta Robin says, there will not be any solution until somebody uses violence and crushes the GBC like one crushes a cockroach. Nishima also had to kill Hiranyakashipu. So he's suggesting that someone has to use violence and either kill the GBC.
That would not be a bad idea, but I think there are good ideas, better ideas, and that is to awaken the people, the sheeple.
Yeah.
The people that are like sheep are called sheeple. Awaken the congregation to say, you have been screwed over. You have been taken to the cleaners. Your money has been taken and you've been given in return nothing. It's time for you to get the greatest treasure, which is the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada. You can do that. You can go to Prabhupada's lotus feet.
Try.
Yourself. And you can say, I surrender. When you take initiation, of course you chant like the spiritual master. That's obvious. Who else would you chant like? Do you see how far we've gone
Elvis.
from the reality? Yeah, I take initiation. Now I want to chant like George Harrison. No, thank you. You can't do that. You're a disciple of Prabhupada. If you don't want to be a disciple of Prabhupada, want to be a disciple of George Harrison, go ahead. Become a disciple of George Harrison. But don't say you're a Prabhupada disciple and then chant nonsense, karmi, sound vibrations. And this is a tough one, but it's one that if anyone wants to go back to Godhead, they have to accept it.
Then Bhakta Robin further says,
yes.
What does Bhakta Robin say here? First of all, he said there will not be any solution until somebody uses violence and crushes the GBC, like one crushes a cockroach. Nishimba also had to kill the Hiranyakashipu. And then he also further said, with all due respect, Narayan Prabhu, the congregation are fools and bootlickers. They will never wake up. After 52 years, they still worship pedophiles and crooks.
Well, that's because that's what they've been offered to worship. In other words, if people are told to worship, just like when you go to a church, like the Catholic Church, if you're told to worship the Pope and the cardinals, why would you not do that?
Yeah.
But if they say, wait a minute, dudes, this is about Jesus, who wasn't a Catholic, he was actually Jewish. This is about Jesus. And he said, turn the other cheek. He said, love your brother as yourself. And do not do unto others that which you would not have them do unto you. Where did that come up during the Inquisition when they're burning people at the stake and boiling them in oil and burning them at the stake and stuff like that? Where is the Christianity in the church? But nobody quit the church. They all said, well, this is the way it's going now. The authorities said this is what we have to do. So we'll do it in order to purify the church and get rid of all the heretics. That's not what Jesus taught. And that's not what Prabhupada taught. So just as the main thing is Bhakti Raman Prabhu is somebody somewhere will want to surrender to Prabhupada, who is a pure devotee. He will want to surrender because he wants to become a pure devotee. And when he surrenders, he will invite others to surrender as well.
Yeah.
We're at a junction point.
Yeah.
Whether we are going to become a church, which is what we've become, ISKCON has become largely a church, but it's still on the cusp. Church, but at the same time, there is the transcendental sign. But if you go into the temples, the people chanting are making fools of themselves. Really, at least in Los Angeles, they are. Because they're all doing it from the ego.
Then Moses Singleton Prabhu followed up with a comment to Moses Prabhu. The sheep are asleep, therefore we approach a time where action will have to be taken.
Yes.
And then Bhakta Rabin Prabhu says, anyone who Googles ISKCON will immediately find out gurus are bogus.
Yeah. So we need to expose the chief thing we can do as a duty is to expose the crimes of which there are an unlimited supply performed by the GBC. For instance, by not accepting, if the GBCs were elected by the temple president, then the children would not have been molested in the Gurukula, because whoever is the temple president would be watching the child from their temple in the Gurukula, and if any danger came, they would just go to India immediately and beat the crap out of whoever was doing it and have him put in jail and have his weenie cut off. That's what they would do. But it wasn't, because the GBC protected the organization, just as the Catholic Church protected the organization, even to this day, when the priests are molesting children. Why aren't they protecting the children? So we have to make that distinction. Everything has to be about protecting the devotees, supporting the devotees, and not protecting the GBC, who is trying to cover up the crimes. For instance, one of the ISKCON so-called gurus, let's see, from Philadelphia, I think. Do you know the name, Ramachandra?
Ravindra Sarup.
Huh?
Ravindra.
Ravindra Sarup? Yeah. He kicked one of his so-called disciples, a female. He kicked her. And that went through a whole process through the GBC and went through the court system for abuse of devotees. And it went through all sorts of managerial plans and everything. And as it came out, they decided that he was guilty. Do you know what they said he was guilty of?
Foot gesture.
Yeah, an inadvertent foot gesture.
Yeah.
An inadvertent foot gesture. He
Wow.
kicked the crap out of this devotee girl. And it became an inadvertent foot gesture. So you can see that is not Krishna consciousness as Prabhupada preached it or defined it. So we don't need to worry about clinging to the structure of ISKCON or clinging to the people who are running ISKCON, namely the GBC. We need to expose them. We need to develop a list of crimes that we can publish on the internet saying, we, the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, accuse. They're like the French. Bhakti Rabin might appreciate the French person that came pointing, j'accuse. I accuse. That's what we need to do. That will create a wedge between the devotees and the GBC. And I can't see any other way of doing it. Meanwhile, while we do the j'accuse sort of thing and make that our accusation and put up our accusation on the wall, but full of legal whereas and whereas and whereas, literally what they have done, when we have done that, everybody will get to read it, including the karmis. The whole point of not exposing the GBC is we don't want to expose ISKCON so that people have a bad opinion. So the children get molested, women get kicked with gestures. In order to protect the structure of the GBC, not the devotees of ISKCON. So once we start putting up that board of crimes that we can put as much detail as we like and get as many people to write their own parts as we like. I mean, there's tons of mothers and everyone that were fighting for the protection of the Guru Kulis. They could go section by section by section. And then finally, the rank and file devotee says, those guys are who appointed my Guru. And then the question will come up, did they have the authority to appoint my Guru? Did they actually have the authority to appoint any Guru? Or did they just do that the same way they did everything else? Autocratically, from a point of view of just having a totalitarian state. So who wants a totalitarian state? Even former Catholics joining the Krishna consciousness movement as new devotees, if they were interested in a Catholic state, then they could join the Catholic Church. Why ISKCON? They're looking for something more. So let's give them something more. Okay, Rupa Ramachandra, I've talked enough, I think. Okay. Who's there? Rupa, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
So why don't continue the thought?
Well, I'm thinking about what you said about why don't they just go and join the Catholic Church? That's a good question. If they come from a Catholic background, what attracted them to ISKCON instead of staying with their Catholic background?
Well, yeah, well, go ahead. Why?
Maybe they saw the truth in Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, but then they had that truth taken away by the GBC and the ISKCON gurus. Right?
Right. Ramachandra and Mahaprabhu left.
Oh, really? Mahaprabhu? Oh, that's right. Yeah, to leave.
Yeah.
So why not continue? Why not continue the thought?
But that's all I have to say on that.
Yeah, but you're a new young individual in ISKCON.
I joined in 2005. That was a while ago.
Okay. And did you find everything was in order?
I was new, so I didn't know that I didn't know. All I knew was that something felt strange about being at the temple. Like there was something clouded over it. And also when they introduced me to several of their initiating gurus, I saw immediately that these were ordinary people. And I thought it was pretty ridiculous that they were trying to get me to take initiation from one of them. We have Dr. Rob with us.
Wonderful. Well, I get him taking part.
Dr. Rob, can you please share with us a little bit about yourself and how you found the group and what topics you were interested in?
Hare Krishna,
Hare,
can you hear me?
Haribol, it's Bhakta Robin, Prabhu. Haribol.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, I just wanted to read my comment, what I about the thing Narayan Prabhu was saying, I said, I'm a realist. There will not be any result by talking to fools and bootlickers. We will need to train new people from scratch. Then I said, I agree with Narayan Prabhu, but there is no meaning to law if there is no violence to execute the law. So of course he is right about the direction of management, but there is no executive to enforce the law. This is the situation.
Wouldn't you think that people want the law? What's the law for? Why did Prabhupada create this law? It's because it benefits people.
Well,
Can people not understand that they are benefited from the direction of management?
Yeah, as I said, I totally 100% agree with you. But the real problem is, there is no meaning to law if there's no enforcement of the law, And ISKCON is run like a mafia, like in a orderly society, Let's say in some hypothetical society, then the citizens will just read the law and most of the people will follow the law, But the ISKCON society is run like a mafia, So
they
don't care about the law.
But what about the fact that the people that are being run over by the mafia are innocent and they want to live a nice life?
Well, Prabhu, just Google ISKCON, when I became a devotee, my former friends, they just went to ISKCON, and they immediately found out, oh, this is a complete cult, Everything about these GBCs is on Google, You just need to enter ISKCON in Google and you immediately find a list. It's called GBC Blacklist with all the crimes of the GBC. It's already there,
Good. So we need to get that out and make it public all over the internet in such a way that people that want to join ISKCON will read it before they join ISKCON.
Well, Prabhu, I've been doing this for years, I have my YouTube channel since more than 10 years, I think, around 10 years. And even ISKCON people were reading it, I knew the treasurer, the biggest treasurer from ISKCON, and he found my YouTube channel, so he was seeing all these things, but still they don't accept it, And I get the most vicious attacks, and insults from the toxic ISKCON followers, So I had to disable all the comments on my channel, So these people are toxic, they're demoniac, so it's no use, There will not be any result. I've been doing this for last 10 years, I can just tell you my own experience. For last 10 years.
What is your good name, Prabhu?
Robin.
Oh, this is Robin.
Yeah, we have been in contact, yeah.
Yes. Well, the point is, what are we saying? That humanity cannot accept Prabhupada?
No, I'm just saying we need the ISKCON people. They are mostly like Rupa Manjari Prabhu, she was intelligent and, serious. So she realized these ISKCON gurus are a complete scam, She was just telling a couple of minutes ago when she came to ISKCON, then she noticed this, But most ISKCON followers, they're toxic personalities. So it's
okay.
It's useless to talk. We need to get new people, We need to get new people. Like, for example, let's take Mahaprabhu. He has never had any contamination in ISKCON, So he was just introduced to Prabhupada from scratch, He was never contaminated by ISKCON. He was just a new person you met at the Costco. And then he was introduced to Prabhupada from scratch, I have a friend who's a truck driver, and, I just introduced him to Prabhupada from scratch, so.
Well, yes, of course, that's what we're going to be doing. But at the same time, I think when the crimes of the GBC are presented to the rank and file devotees that join and want to guru and want to take part in ISKCON, it will disturb them to think that this GBC is like that. If we can prove that the GBC is like that to the, you say you have it on the website, that's fine. But how do we bring that website to the new devotees so that when they see it, they say, do you really want to be under that sort of control?
Well,
like
that's what I'm saying. It's already, everything is already on the internet. There's so much.
It's on the internet, but that doesn't mean that the individual devotees, that doesn't mean that the individual devotees that want to join ISKCON have read it.
Well, I got many attacks from I was attacked and insulted only by ISKCON followers. That's my experience. They're toxic personalities. They will just
of course, because there's the big guys that are running everything with an iron fist that murdered Prabhupada. And then you come down the line to those that are benefiting and wanting to get favor from those murderers because they want to be in power under them. Just if you're in Germany, think of the feudal system that has existed in Europe for before Europe existed. Thousands of years. Alexander the Great, Syria.
Well, actually, the feudal system was much better. Now the taxation rate in Germany is you have to pay almost 50% income tax, and then you have to pay another 20% general sales tax. So you got a tax rate of 70%.
No. I understand what you're saying.
So in the feudal times, it was only 10%.
I'm not saying that the current situation in Germany is better. What I am saying is that the system of feudalism, which you say was better than current in Germany, was going on, and different people became different kings and different lords, and then they got married and they fought, they killed the wives, they killed each other, It was going on and on and on. I'm sure you know the whole history. So,
okay,
that's the same thing that's happening. That's the same thing that's happening in the GBC. It's just the same gang mentality that you have in the streets, or it's the same dictatorial mentality that you have. It's just going on forever.
Well, Prabhu,
remember the French Revolution.
The problem is with the kind of people we need to focus on. For example, these kind of people who are associated with ISKCON, they are toxic personalities. There's a lot of one part is fools. One part is the Indians. The Indians, they are fools. They are just blind followers. Like you can tell the Indians anything, they will just blindly follow it. 99% of Indians are like that.
We have to tell them the right things, so when they blindly follow it, they become enlightened.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying most of the Indians, they're just foolish, blind followers. And then you got the toxic personalities.
Because they're Hindus. Prabhupada said the Hindus are not candidates to be devotees because they have no philosophy. They worship any god under the sun equally, but no philosophy. So by joining ISKCON, they develop philosophy. But this is ultimately, but at the present moment, we need to see, and I'm sure there are, think of all the people outside of ISKCON that got kicked out, like me and others that got kicked out of ISKCON. Think of all those devotees that would love to see Prabhupada back at the center.
Well, Prabhu,
Haribol, when you say Indians, Prabhu, now Indians are like developing this culture of getting away from ISKCON. Like you can take an example of Vinayak Prabhu, right? Me, Vinayak Prabhu, we have been in the system for around 5 years. We knew everything what was happening in both ISKCONs. We follow from outside. So people are changing, right? But the philosophy, Prabhupada's Vani, you can't, it's unmatchable, right? That's the real bliss, right? So if you,
Well,
when
well,
you
Mohit,
when
I'm
you just
saying 99%, you know. I'm not
no, bro. I guess from
talking about you.
99% also these days people are going outside. They take Prabhupada seriously. They take Prabhupada books seriously. They know everything, but they just go for darshans, right? They don't fall into the prey. Now they're developing this culture. I mean, I know Indians are like they just don't see anything and just follow, right? Whatever is austere. But now they're seeing everything, right? All over the world, I can see that there's a change going on in Indians. So we can't
Okay,
bifurcate them, right?
that's nice to hear. You know what I heard that in USA, ISKCON is mostly run by these Indians. You know, that's what I heard. You know, that's why I said we in ISKCON USA
Well,
we got these
they're
blind
not being,
Indians, and we
they're
got
not being,
the
not being run by Indians. It's being run for Indians. Like in Los Angeles, the temple president has been there since decades, but now he's changed everything so that it's running for the Indians, because the Indians are supplying money and they're cooking and bringing beautiful offerings to the temple, and they buy flowers, they have ceremonies. So he's running the temple for the Indians. It's not so much that the Indians are running the temple.
Prabhu, one
yeah,
question
that's what I
had.
meant. That's what I meant. Sorry, you put it correctly. Now, Narayan Prabhu. That's what I
It's
meant.
okay, Prabhu. Bhaktaraman Prabhu, can you discuss the topic which you shared with me on Telegram, right? Because we found you today on live, right? So you wanted to discuss, right? Oh, that case. Is it possible on online?
Let's finish this, and if we got more time, we can discuss another topic. I want to finish this. You know,
After
first.
this, we will surely discuss, right? If you're comfortable.
Dr. Robin Prabhu, your points are fully valid, and they're valid, but it's not a one-way street. It's not a bottomless pit where we fall into it. We have great opportunities, and these great opportunities are lying inside of the disaster. So let's be not positive, not optimistic, not Pollyanna, but we become courageous warriors within the structure for Prabhupada. Because all we need to do is create an atmosphere in which Prabhupada is heard. And what I've been suggesting is that if we can get the ISKCON temples back away from the GBC, which is possible because there's so much problems going on with the GBC and the ISKCON in India and other places. If we can get the ISKCON temples back,
well,
in one way or another,
Prabhu, I agree with you. You know, this is a good idea, but I think that, you know, like it's the problem are the ISKCON members. You know, if they were like sane people, then your idea would absolutely work. You know, but they are toxic personalities, so I don't think that.
But do you know what we're working on right now? The idea that Prabhupada tricked us all, that if you stop to think, how many kirtans being chanted are being chanted in the mood of Srila Prabhupada?
Well, I can just give you one example.
Prabhupada's chanting and chant accordingly. I think this may sound crazy to you, but I think that he left his recorded kirtans so that when people got sick and tired of going blah, 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 blah all over the countryside, trying to become pure devotees by chanting some sahaja melody, that they're going to come back and have a meeting, say, what are we going to do? None of us can chant like in a way that is attracting people properly. And then someone can say, well, what if we listen to Prabhupada's chanting on the records? Chanting on the records, he's dead. He's dead and gone. No, actually, he is not dead because he is the transparent via medium. And he reasons all who say Vaishnavas die, but now we're living still in sound. So why don't we go back to the sound that he's living in the kirtans, and then start the kirtans as the standard in the temples for the new devotees, so that when they chant in the temple, you think it's Prabhupada chanting. When they go out on Sankirtan, it's as though Prabhupada is leading the kirtan out of doors.
Yeah, but
If that goes on,
they don't like Prabhupada's melodies.
who doesn't?
most of the people in the temples.
No, not the ones in the temple. I'm talking about the ones that would like to be in the temple.
Well, now Narayan Prabhu, I did exactly that. I took the old tunes and created a morning program video. It's 1 hour. It has the old tunes and it's very nice. It also has, I took this CD from Krishna Store, morning program with Srila Prabhupada, and then I took some other video of Prabhupada pictures and I merged it together. It's 1 hour and then you can watch it and chant along, I created something like this. It's very nice.
And so do the devotees study it and then kirtan, have that kirtan only, or do they sing other melodies also?
Well, I just created this for people who are practicing in their own home, I play it every day, almost, Now I stopped,
good.
but, I started to doing this, it's very nice.
I agree with you. And
You are the only one who's saying this. You are the only one who has this realization, nobody else is talking about it.
Well, there's people, Lenny Sislak is also getting that same vision. People will start getting the vision. When they start getting that vision that they must hear Prabhupada, not a bunch of other goofballs, they're going to, that is what will make a transformation. And if there's anybody in the ISKCON temples that are interested in actually making advancement, then they'll welcome chanting like Prabhupada. If they're not, then they should just go away and do something else somewhere else.
Well, even in the so-called Prabhupada camp, ISKCON Bangalore, the kirtan is horrible, I was just watching the Narasimha Yayanti, and it was not good. They use keyboards, they use violins, I would just take this keyboard and hit it on their head, take the violin and hit it on their head, because this is not what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did. Where did keyboard and violin come from? I don't know,
I went there in 2016, in the early 2016 to Bangalore, and I met with Madhu Pandit, and when he saw me, he came forward and threw himself on my feet, believe it or not. And then we had some intimate conversations, but I realized it would have to go further to be workable because the kirtans they were doing were useless kirtans. They were absolutely pointless. He might as well have come from his guru, Jayapataka Swami,
Well,
and
I know Madhu Pandit, I watched the videos, on YouTube, and it's, I know them personally also from Jaipur, and they're very materialistic, They also assaulted other Prabhupadas to destroy their donors, and stuff like this. It's very, very materialistic, It's all about money, So
well, that's a disease. When I was there, I led many, many kirtans, and I led only Prabhupada kirtans, and the people went crazy for the kirtans. You know what I do when I lead a kirtan is that when I get the kirtan going, I hand the microphone to all the people in the audience so they can lead the kirtan once. And I hand it around and around. People go so crazy for it, and they love the Prabhupada melody, and they will not stop. They cannot stop. The kirtan is supposed to stop after an hour. 3 hours later, they're still begging to continue.
Well, I personally think it's, unfortunate. I agree that ISKCON Bangalore has the same, they are better than ISKCON, of course, because they accept Prabhupada, but their kirtan is the same materialistic vibration, So I listen to the Bhagavatam classes, that's very nice. Correct. But, it's unfortunate that they have also the same, in the live stream of ISKCON Bangalore, they don't play Prabhupada anymore. They play their own horrible materialistic tunes with keyboard and stuff, it sounds horrible, compared to Prabhupada.
Well, that's too bad because I don't know what are they trying to accomplish? Why are they not following Prabhupada? The whole idea of Ritwik is to follow Prabhupada.
But I have a question here. I mean, not interjection here. No one can play like Prabhupada. You can hear Prabhupada Kirtans, right? He was a pure devotee. So his sound and his soul singing is very different from ours, right? So we can't match his, right? We can never match what Prabhupada sang what mood he sang, because you can clearly notice that it was direct from Golok Dham.
We can't we can't imitate. We can't
You can
imitate,
just try to imitate,
but we
right?
can
Exactly.
absorb ourselves in the way he chants and chant as best we can accordingly,
So,
knowing
Prabhu,
that we're not perfect.
maybe Bhaktaravan Prabhu, those keyboards and I mean the things which you're saying, they are not wrong because they may be trying to do it, right? But they can't exactly do it because it's Prabhupada. Prabhupada is the only pure soul, right? He's a pure devotee, so his sound.
Yeah,
and,
but it's our job
is different, yeah.
we can't say because I'm not Prabhupada, I'm going to chant something totally different. We should try to chant like Prabhupada, even if we're not successful.
Yeah, bro. So it's like a
He's our spiritual
student.
master. Why would we chant like somebody else?
I mean, they can use the tunes, right? That's for sure. They can use the tunes which Prabhupada wanted, but you can't have the exact tasteful experience which you have with Prabhupada. So they are like students trying, right?
I didn't quite
They're
understand
students trying.
I didn't understand what you just said. I'm sorry, Chun. Can you repeat what you said?
Rupa Manjari Mataji, can you explain?
I'm sorry, I missed it.
So Prabhu, I was saying that it's like we are students, right? We can't be exactly clear on how Prabhupada sang, right? We can just play his tunes, but not exactly what he sung. He was singing,
Well,
right?
let me tell you
Impossible
this from
for
my
us.
own experience. If you put, I spent one time when I was in Detroit, I would lie on the ground between, this is years ago before anything technological was there, between two speakers and a record player. And I would listen to Prabhupada completely absorbed through the speakers until I got the idea how to begin to chant like Prabhupada. And that can be done. He didn't come here to be out of reach to us. He came here so that we could become out of reach to our own Maya. How do we transform our hard hearts into receptacles for hearing his sound vibration as it is?
And he also had relatively simple, easy to follow melodies. So, and he specifically said that not to introduce complex new melodies, but just keep it simple so that everybody, including children, could sing along.
Well, that's a very important point. You know, that's always what I have realized. You know, it has gotten so horrible now in the 24-hour kirtan in Vrindavan. You know, they make these tunes. Hare Krishna. Nobody can sing along. Nobody can sing along. Not even the people who have been devotees for years. You know, if you just use a simple tune, then even a child can sing along. New people can sing along. You know, that's not how you can engage the people in the kirtan. You know, this is totally antagonistic to kirtan. You know, if you use these tunes, and if you just use a simple tune, then everybody can sing along. Even new people.
In the early days, Prabhupada would imagine in 26th Avenue, he led the kirtan and people followed. Did they follow perfectly? No, but they had no idea of chanting differently than Prabhupada. That came about in Calcutta in 1970. Achyutananda convinced everyone that Prabhupada's kirtans were for babies. Those Mary Had a Little Lamb sort of kirtans, and that he said you should chant the real Bengali kirtans. And he had learned these from the Gaudiya Math and from other sources like the Balas of Bengal. And so he taught everybody that they ought to be chanting real Bengali kirtans. So when I came back in 1973 to Los Angeles, Karandar put me in charge of the kirtan program of the temple and the Sunday program. So we were only doing Prabhupada's melodies, and they were very beautiful, and people chanted them very nicely. As nicely as Prabhupada, no. Approaching it, Prabhupada, yes. And so what happened is these guys came over from India with their Bengali kirtans, saying, oh, no, he went to Karandar, we want to lead the kirtans. And Karandar said, you have to go to Naranaran, he's in charge. So they went to me and said, I'm ready to lead the kirtan. I said, we only chant Prabhupada's melodies. They said, no, we want to chant the real melodies. We want to chant the Bengali melodies. That was all baby stuff that was taught by Prabhupada. We want to chant the real stuff. And they said, if you don't want to chant Prabhupada's melodies, then you can't lead the kirtan. That's the end of the story. So they were completely astonished. They would not, they could, but we had people listening on headphones to Prabhupada's kirtan, had people listening on headphones to Prabhupada's mridanga. We had classes where people practiced mridanga, and we had classes where people practiced the kirtan, so that when we had the kirtan, it was magnificent. Not as good as Prabhupada, but you could tell that he was the spiritual master of those who were chanting. That's the point.
I would say let's go back to the comments. There have been a lot of comments on the chat.
Okay, let's listen to see the comments. Rupa, can you read them up?
Let me see if I can do it. Hold on.
Well, I have it already pulled up, the YouTube chat. If you want, I can read it.
Yeah, can you read it, Dr. Robin?
Yeah, you read them, Prabhu.
Okay, so we had a lot of comments here because some people were saying we are bashing Madhu Panditas, you know. I just want to say I'm not bashing Madhu Panditas, you know, I have nothing against him.
We're not bashing Madhu Pandit, we're bashing kirtans that are not Prabhupada kirtans.
So, okay, let me read the comments.
It doesn't matter who is chanting. We're not bashing the person, we're bashing the bad kirtan. Anyhow, let's go. Go ahead, Dr. Robin.
The devotee Hare Krishna, he said, who wants this temple in incorporated ISKCON? Better go off on your own like Srila Prabhupada did. We already covered that, you know, we already talked about it. And then the next comment is, he said, I lived in Bangalore. Nara Narayan Das visited me when I got him introduced to Madhu Pandit Das. So I don't know, Hare Krishna, maybe you can tell your initiated name so we know who you are. That would be very nice. And then another devotee.
I'm Nara Narayan Das Vishwakarma.
No, there's somebody on the chat called Hare Krishna, and he said he met you in Bangalore.
Ah, well,
he was living there. I don't.
Okay.
That's what I asked him. That's what I asked him. You know, if he could give.
Was I living with him?
He said you visited him and he introduced you to Madhu Panditas. That's what he said.
Yeah, I think he's an American, I think.
Maybe, you know, I asked him to put his spiritual name so we know who he is, but his YouTube name is just Hare Krishna, so we can't tell who he is. So, and then a person called True Detective is saying, so Prabhupada didn't ask George Harrison to use only ancient musical instruments, because I said, you know, about the violin and keyboard, you know. So my reply would be that this is okay for the outside world to have this kind of kirtan with other instruments, but if we are doing amongst devotees, we should do according to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with
to our spiritual master. Yes, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. I've made that point over and over, because George Harrison asked Prabhupada, please, will you initiate me? Now, would you imagine that of all the people in the world, it's a big shot Beatle who has produced records for Prabhupada, asked for initiation, and Prabhupada said no. He said, I want you to continue to do the kirtans the way you're doing them, to do these bhajans and songs and popular songs on the radio the way you're doing them. If you were initiated, you would have to chant the way we do in the temple. He actually said that. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah, okay, so let's move on with the comments then.
Go ahead.
So now this True Detective is saying you need to, he's bashing us. He said you need to team up with Madhu Pandit Das. Now stop criticizing everything. Then Hare Krishna is saying, it's unfortunate that Madhu Pandit Das is going mainstream for the Indian donation. Then True Detective is calling us a bunch of babies. And I'm saying Madhu Pandit Das is also for the experimental injection that uses aborted babies. Then I say he's compromised because he gets donations from medical companies.
Wait, 1 second. What were you saying about aborted fetuses?
you know,
But the-
because
the-
this is
the-
one second, this is YouTube, so we can't, you know, we have to use some coded language, otherwise we get shadow banned, you know. So that's why I said Madhu Panditas is for the experimental injection that uses parts from aborted babies. And then I said he's compromised because he gets donations from medical companies. That's what I said.
That's it. That's
So
why
he
he
gets
does it.
kickbacks.
They say, we'll give you $150,000 or maybe $2 million and then get everybody to take it. And they do, because I mean, why? Who doesn't want to have the $2 million? And besides, they can say to themselves, wait a minute, this is good. It's good for people to get vaccinated. There's no harm in it. So I'll get that $2 million and do something Krishna conscious with it. That's the mentality. And that's what's happening all over the world in every branch.
Okay, but please don't use the word here, you know, otherwise we might get YouTube
Okay.
strike, you know, just
I-
use
I-
some
I-
other
I-
term, you know, like,
I accept your warning. Thank you.
okay, so then Edwin Chandra is saying about us, they are meditating more on ISKCON gurus by criticizing them. And then Hare Krishna is saying, correct, as a foreigner in Bangalore, never was invited to the inner circle, only Indians allowed. Then True Detective is saying Madhu Panditas is being attacked by goons from all sides. He's trying his best to serve Srila Prabhupada.
Well, you know, I wish he were doing differently. And he invited me to come to live in Bangalore, actually into Udupi. They have a nice house there for me to live in. I could have gone there because he wanted my ideas to come to the foreground, which would have not resulted in what he's up to right now. I am sure I could have convinced him, but he wanted to keep me there for 6 months and have me watched by his people to make sure that I was bona fide.
We have 2
So
minutes to
I
go.
am to blame for this, really.
We have 2 minutes to go.
Okay, I will just finish up reading the
4
comments
minutes.
real quick. So then I was saying they are racist because they have had bad experience with Western people. One German devotee told me who lived there. And then Hare Krishna is saying Madhu Pandit took the experimental injection and promoted it just like false ISKCON. Then Edwin Chandra is saying, well, Indian devotees are able to follow four regulative principle very easily. It's in their culture. True Detective is saying, what about IRM guy, Krishna Kant? Where is he now? So my reply to this is, he's nowhere because in the Western countries, there's no money, you know. This is all about money, you know. The Western Prabhupada Nugas, they don't have money. That's why they don't have big programs. And in India, they have a lot of money, you know, so they can have big programs, you know, as simple as that.
Probably. I think that India, they also have the capacity to coordinate things and get audiences and to get people to believe in stuff. But they are going about it. They're going about it in a way which is not spiritual, is not in the sampradaya of Srila Prabhupada, put it that way.
Okay, let's continue then, because we only got two minutes.
Go ahead.
Then Hare Krishna is saying, correct, Bhakta Robin, they tried to kick me out of India, fanatic devotees going with the only Indian ISKCON, foreigners not welcome. So that was Hare Krishna's experience with ISKCON Bangalore. And I met another devotee who lived there who told me that they had bad experience with Western people. That's why they became racist now against Westerners. So that's what one devotee who was living with them told me.
That's what happens. I mean, the whole GBC became an enemy of Krishna consciousness in its pure form. They created Krishna. If we can distinguish, there's pure spiritual life, which is what Prabhupada brought from Krishna Loka. And then there's religious structure, which is what the GBC created.
Okay.
And,
okay.
Dr.
So,
Robin, were you
can we just finish the comments real quick?
Yeah, go ahead. Yes. And we can go over to do the comments.
Okay, so Hare Krishna is saying, never met such racist devotees led by Madhupanditas. Then Edwin Chandra is saying, Western people mess up everything they don't want to follow because their Kshatriya nature. Indians are trained to follow rules and regulation. Hare Krishna is saying, the fake gurus messed up everything. Then True Detective is saying, Madhupanditas invited Yashomati Nandana. He is white-bodied. There are interviews of him from Bangalore. So Narayan already commented on that.
I will tell you confidentially, Yasodananda is bogus.
Well, okay, let's not get into this whole thing.
I'm just leaving that thought that we shouldn't just take Yasodananda as the.
Yeah, we know. I already know what you said about him, and Pada and stuff like this. So
he is not.
We are already educated.
He is not the next Jayananda.
Okay, so let's continue. He's saying, Edwin Chandra, why don't you people start your own movement? I already commented on that because of the money. In the Western countries, there's not huge amount of donation, so you can only do small scale programs. Then Hare Krishna is saying, correct, we are all used to be with Madhu Pandit, but Yashoda and others not welcome now. True Detective, really?
Wait, what did he say about Yasoda?
Well, Hare Krishna said, correct, we all used to be with Madhu Pandit. So he's saying in the past, like Yashoda Nandana and this Yashomati Nandan, they were with Madhu Pandit, but now they're not welcome anymore.
Time is up.
So, okay, really quick, just 1 minute.
But Rupa, remember, we have a
Edwin, just 1 minute, the comments.
It'll have to include you now because you're the director, but we have a rule that will answer all the, respond to, and Dr. Robin is handling it, that will respond to all the.
So I will do
let's do one thing, Haribol. Wait.
1 minute.
Rupa Manjari Mataji can leave because she has a sleep time, Prabhu. So let her leave, then we can talk.
I'm hosting it, so
You can give me the host. Haribol, you can give me the host.
Okay.
Then we can continue. No issues. Give me the host.
I'd say,
and then
Rupa, I'd say stay on because you're valuable.
Okay, I gave Mohit the host.
Yeah,
Go,
but you
okay.
stay on for 10 minutes. What will harm you?
Okay, go ahead, Dr. Robin.
Okay, thank you. So Edwin Chandra is saying, show by example, make your own temple. Hare Krishna is saying, Ratha Yatra Das. So the Hare Krishna devotee who's on our chat is called Ratha Yatra Das. I thought
yes,
he was
he
living
and
there.
I lived together in his apartment in Bangalore.
He's
live on the chat right now.
UDP. Huh?
So Ratha Yatra Das, he's live on the chat now.
He is?
Yeah,
Right
he was commenting. He was the person called
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Das. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. You're one of the greatest souls I've ever encountered. So go ahead, Dr.
So he was the person. He was living formerly in Bangalore, and now he was kicked out. Because they became racist. That's what he's saying.
They became racist?
Yeah, now Ratha Yatra Das, he was living in Bangalore before, but now they kicked him out because they're Indians only. Now, when you visited there, he was still living there, but now they alienated him because he's Western.
But Madhu Pandit's people told him that I couldn't continue to be a guest of his in his nice condo because I was not, I was an outsider. Huh?
You were white.
Well, he was white too. But that they couldn't have guests like me, even though Madhu Pandit loved me.
Well, this shows their mentality, but let's not comment further on it. I just want to get along with the comments now.
Exactly.
Because it's not much left. Okay.
Okay, so go ahead.
Then somebody is saying, please take my name. I don't know. So then Hare Krishna is saying his name is Ratha Yatra Das, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And Amusing Tube is saying, my name is Ashvaya Krishnan, please take my name. My name is Ashvaya Krishnan. Kinda, I don't know what it means. So True Detective is saying, nope, Srila Prabhupada approved Govindam Adipurusham song with Western music. That's true. So Hare Krishna is saying,
yes, but that was an exception. And he did so because he wanted George Harrison and the Beatles to continue making music. And besides, it became a great addition. He can do that. We cannot.
yeah, and I also think when we are amongst devotees, and we should stick to the traditional tunes, and then there's also bridge preaching for outsiders. You know, this was approved by Prabhupada, so we can do it.
Yes,
Okay,
that's the correct point. That's
Hare Krishna is so Ratha Yatra Prabhu is saying at Edwin. So he's replying to a comment of Edwin Prabhu. We did make our own temple in the mountains of South India. We have an off-grid farm growing our own food. So Ratha Yatra Prabhu here has a farm now in South India, off-grid.
Huh.
Does he need people?
Yeah, I don't know. You know, we can ask him if he still takes people. You know, maybe he can get in contact on WhatsApp or something like this.
Where can I view that comment that you're viewing?
It's on the I was watching Ramachandra Prabhu on YouTube, and on YouTube it has a live chat. You know, this is the Zoom video is mirror to YouTube. So
Okay.
The chat is on Ronald's YouTube.
Okay.
So then some other Rob is saying, that's not me. Please just believe in Krishna, that will put you on the right path. Ratha Yatra Prabhu is saying, Hari Bol Narnarayan Das. So he heard that Narnarayan offered his obeisances to him. So he said, Hari Bol Narnarayan Prabhu. Jai. So
he's my hero.
So now a True Detective is saying bodily concept of life. The very first step in spiritual life is to learn that I'm not this body, Indian, American, etc. There's another Ritvik institution growing rapidly in India named Give Gita. I know Give Gita, they're not Ritvik. At least they were Ritvik for some time, but then they stopped. You know, I don't know what happened now. I met the leader of Give Gita myself.
This is not for tonight, but I have systematically deconstructed the word Ritvik. Ritvik is a word created by and introduced by Tamal under the guidance of Narayan Maharaj. The real term is officiating acharya. Officiating acharya is who is supposed to be initiating in behalf of Prabhupada, not Ritvik. That's bogus. Yeah, are we okay there?
Yes, okay. That were all the comments. So I think we can close this meeting. You know, now, and you know, if there's anything else you want to talk about, then you can bring it up.
And it's wonderful that you took over a strong role. Usually I'm taking very strong role, and that's okay because I try to do the right thing. But one person with a strong role, it's good to have everybody with a strong role.
Bhaktarabhin Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Dhanvat Pranam to you, and thanks for joining after so many days. Yeah, we had a discussion, right? Do you remember, Prabhu?
Who is this?
Yeah. He is mentioning the thing we discussed. You know, I know somebody who was very close with Hansa Dutta, and it's about the question Jews versus Christians. You know, yeah. I think we should. Yeah, I think we should. You know, like talk about it, because maybe in the future, you know, then people will blame the Jews for it. You know, and maybe it's not true, or maybe it's true. You know, but we should.
Jews I was there at the early days of the movement. Yeah. Jews joined because Prabhupada reminded them of a rabbi. But then later on in 1970, when the GBC refused to be elected, and they start seeing that the GBC was like bishops and cardinals, then Catholics joined only after Jews, and Jews stopped joining.
Yeah,
There was
we
no-
already
there
had
was no
this
conspiracy by
discussion,
Jews
you know.
to
I'm
turn
just
his
saying
son.
we need actual proof, you know. Do you have like biographies of Jayapataka Swami? Like, do you have like some biographies or something like this where we can like?
Jayapataka is a Catholic.
Well, Hansadutta was saying exactly the opposite. So we need to have some
Well,
proof
we can check it out, but I know he was from a small community of a certain type of Germans that came from Germany and made communes there in Wisconsin.
Yeah, Prabhu, you know, I'm just saying if we want to disprove Hansadutta Prabhu, then we need to have some biographies or something like this. So my question would be, do you have any books or like where we can get some scriptural proof, you know? Because we tried on Wikipedia and we couldn't find anything.
No, you're not going to find a, well, you can go on regular searches and you'll find that the name is not a Jewish name, it's a German name. Okay, just while we're still here, who else do you think is Jewish?
Well, like as I said, you know, one Prabhupada disciple, he was very close with Hansadutta, and Hansadutta, he said that they asked Hansadutta, why are you not with the GBC? And then he said, you know, they don't work with me because I'm not Jewish, you know. So Hansadutta was saying that only 3 people were non-Jewish, and you are saying as the exact opposite, you know.
Well, tell me.
That's why
I knew, was Jai Tirtha Jewish?
Well, Prabhu, I have no idea, you know. I'm just saying
Because
if we want...
I lived with Jai Tirtha and his wife, Manjuali. He explained to me that his father, Emil, means heaven, was a German, and his mother was an Arab, and they were Catholics. I was his roommate for several years.
Yeah, Prabhu, I agree, you know, but I'm just saying, you know, we need to have some proof if we want to make a valid point, you know, because people will not accept our statements, you know. We need to have some biography.
How do you prove things like that?
Like with a biography, you know. That's what was my idea, you know. If we could get like biographies, then we could prove
biography of who? These people have biographies, they're hippies.
Like Jai Potato Swami, you know, like these kind of people, you know, if we could get a biography, you know, maybe.
Oh, what biography can you get?
I don't know, you know,
he was a hippie and he joined the movement, you know, just like everybody else.
Yeah, but all the ISKCON gurus, they have so many disciples and they write their books about them, you know, so, you know, that's what I was thinking.
But who knows if that's true even slightly. So if you want to know of the 11, you can ask me right now, actually you did, which ones are Jewish, which ones are not Jewish?
Prabhu, we already went through it, you know, I watched all your videos, you know, I watched all the replays. So I'm just saying, you know, like if we want to, like, let's say 500 years from now, then the same question will come up and then some people will say, okay, we need to, you know, the Jews were the culprits for killing Prabhupada, you know, this might come up in 500 years, you know, that's why I'm saying we need to get some...
The only Jew that was involved in killing Prabhupada directly was Tamal.
Yeah, so we need to get some, that's what I know what you said.
But
I watched everything.
He didn't kill Prabhupada because he was Jewish. He poisoned Prabhupada because he was a megalomaniac that wanted to control the movement for himself.
Yeah, I'm just saying we need to get some scriptural proof, you know, like we need to get some biographies, and then we, you know, if we think 500 years from now,
biographies. I mean, biographies. I don't think you mean biographies. You mean some sort of traceable genealogies, right?
Yeah, something that is like an actual proof, you know, that would be a valid
genealogies. I did some genealogical work for Jayapataka, and I traced him back to Wisconsin in a small village, his people, and they were German. They were German, a special sort of Germans, not, you know, the sort that settle down and farm, like the Quakers do, and the Amish.
Okay, then we can't resolve the question, you know, like, then I would say like 500 years from now, if the question comes up, you know, like some people are watching our videos 500 years from now, then we have to say, you know, we couldn't resolve it like from like what you say scientific point.
So who else needs to be resolved? Jai Tirtha, I guarantee, he told me his genealogy, and he wasn't lying. He was the opposite. He hated Jews. In fact, he was anti-Semitic. But who else do you question if they were Jews? Because these are people I lived with daily, talked with daily.
Well, Hansa Dutta, he was one of the original 11, you know, and he said that 8 people were Jews and 3 were non-Jews, you know. So I don't know, you know. I'm just saying what different Prabhupada disciples are saying.
Hansa Dutta had a lot of hatred for Jews. But the thing is that, okay, which of the 8 that are Jews?
I don't know. Hansa Dutta is dead. You know, Hansa Dutta left his body. He's dead.
Yeah, because I knew pretty much. I knew all of those guys that became gurus. I knew all of them, and I knew their histories, their backgrounds. You see, the way my mind works, I'm a very inquisitive guy. I have a degree in English literature. I studied history. When I talk to a person, I don't just say, "Hi, Joe." I try to find out everything about them backward and forward and their genealogy as well. Now, if you want, we could find it, it's a little expensive, but we could run genealogies on all the 8 that you questioned. It shouldn't be hard.
Well, I'm not an expert on this, you know. For me personally, I don't have the money to run these analysis. So, you know, I'm just saying,
I don't
like,
either. That's the point.
500 years from now, maybe this question can't be resolved, you know, in a satisfactory way.
500 years ago, somebody will have the money too. But the thing is, we don't want this sort of thing floating, because the first point is, who cares if they were Jews? I mean,
as I said, you know,
that was against Prabhupada because they were Jews. As far as I can see, in the early days of the movement, I joined in 1968. I was initiated in 1968. I was associating in 1967. My experience was the Jews were completely 100% for Srila Prabhupada. And they stopped joining when the Catholics started joining.
Well, Prabhu, you can see Prabhupada wouldn't even be in America without the Jews. You know, this lawyer, I think Goldstein or something like this, he was a lawyer in New York who helped Prabhupada get his permanent residency and stuff, you know. So without the Jews...
And Allen Ginsberg was a Jew.
So, and also, what's his name? Brahmananda Prabhu, you know, he was also Jewish, and he donated all his money to Prabhupada, you know.
Brahmananda, Gargamuni were from a very strongly economic Jewish family.
And you know what we should also say, you know, that many of the Jewish disciples, they experienced a lot of discrimination. You know, I think it was just horrible, you know, what Gargamuni and Brahmananda's father, you know, did to them. You know, he hated his sons, you know. And when Gargamuni Prabhu went to his father, because Prabhupada told him, go to your father and learn how to run the factory, you know. And then his father, you know, he tried to send prostitute, he put meat in his food, you know. So they experienced a lot, these Jewish converts to Krishna consciousness, they experienced a lot of, you know, discrimination. I talked to another Jewish Prabhupada disciple, his name is Ed Shapiro, and he told me his father disowned him, you know. He was from a very wealthy family. And after his son became a Hare Krishna.
That happened with all sorts of backgrounds, not just Jewish, you know. When Prabhupada was there and Gargamuni and Brahmananda were present early days, their mother came and she was saying, because I would like you to understand that in the Jewish faith, it's forbidden for a Jew to bow down to another human being. They can only bow down to God. So his mother came and to Prabhupada and was very upset, complaining to Prabhupada, why you're making them bow down to you? That's wrong. Why are they bowing down to you? And Prabhupada turned to Gargamuni and Brahmananda and said, well, immediately bow down to your mother. And they did. They offered obeisances to their mother. It's just a religious distinction.
Well, I think it's very nice. To God, I think in the same way.
To human beings also. We bow down to jivas in the human body. The Jews do not believe you can do that. They believe
Bro,
you
it's
can
not.
only bow to God. But
Bro, it's not for Jews, it's for everyone, right? So it's for Indians, it was for Chinese, it was Japanese, it's for everyone. Those who are starting in Krishna consciousness, their parents disown, right?
yeah,
If they
and
are not cultured, it's
whatever the
okay.
cultural structure is, when the person joins, they will retain some of that when they try to become a devotee. And that's
So-
normal, isn't it?
So and that's normal. That's every parents, specifically in India, also are disowning, and then they understand. Oh, Krishna gives them that blessing that your son is a devotee. After 6 months, they get to know, realize that their lives have been peaceful, right? When they were in the material world. I've been with
But
such devotees.
if it is what we learned in ISKCON is very different than the parents' teaching, the parents going to be upset. Why not?
Every
Because
parent
the
would be
parent
upset,
has his own teaching. He wants his children to be like him.
But
You know?
Prabhu, for my
Well,
example,
actually,
my father is into. I mean, totally doesn't accept it. But now, after like being 4 years into this, he's not forcing me to do something else, and just he's saying just do your job and do whatever you want to do, right? But
So
he
who is
doesn't
speak-
follow from inside. But my
Who is
mother
this?
follows, right?
Is this Vinayit?
Bro, it's me, Mohit Haribo.
Mohit,
Prabhu.
Mohit. Yeah.
So
Oh,
So
hi,
it's
Mohit.
different, right? It's different, right? My father doesn't come from that background, so he can. His nature is not like that.
So
But
you're
my mother
always
is-
going to find a clash. And I don't know, Dr. Robert, are you still there?
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
still there. I was just taking this as an example. What the Jews did for Prabhupada. Because many people are just saying negative about Jews. So I was just
Wow.
saying, positive what the Jews actually helped
Yeah.
Prabhupada.
Positive or
You wouldn't
negative,
even
but
know
you-
Prabhupada without the Jews.
They get both. But were you raised Catholic yourself?
Well, I hate, I hated Christianity. My family was Protestant, and I said burn the church down. This was my,
Or your
this
parents,
was,
were they Lutheran?
yeah. My father is an atheist, but my mother is a Protestant, and
Okay, so there,
I hated Christianity. I totally hated it. And
yeah, but you realize that the Catholic Church under Constantine, when he became the first pope and used the Prince of Peace and turned the other cheek to go out and kill 10,000 people in a war, that he had to make Jews bad in the eyes of Catholics because the Jews caused so much trouble to the Romans in Jerusalem. So how can you suddenly embrace the person in the middle of all of that turmoil in Jerusalem? How can you embrace that person as God when you have the when how can you make the people? So you have to turn it the Roman Catholic. They have to turn the Catholics against the Jews so that Jesus can be seen as separate from the Jews.
Well,
I guess to
complicated.
answer Bhakti Robin's Prabhu's question, right? Parents not following Prabhu. It's every individual soul has his own life, right? Has his own bhakti, has his own spiritual life from background, right? So my mother
Yeah.
had it, I got through her, and then my father couldn't, right? Because it's not in his karma, or maybe he will get it slowly and steadily. But his nature is not like that. He's not accepting things, right?
Yeah, this
So,
Mohit Prabhu,
it's
this was not the topic, it was just an example, what I
Exactly.
just wanted to give an example what Jews did
we
for
need
Prabhupada.
to explore everything. Is the ghosting
we need to
means
explore everything, Prabhu,
everything?
rather than being, yeah.
We discuss everything openly.
This has
Okay,
been with
there are a
moral
lot of
devotees.
comments on the chat. There are many new comments. Do you want to hear them or not?
Oh, sure. Let's
Yes,
get the
Prabhu, we
comments.
want to hear them, but we have a person, right? I am listening. You can go there and who's this person? He's recently joined. I'm listening. Haribol, can you introduce yourself? Haribol.
Great. Some more comments. You see, this is very good because people are listening to what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And you may say, Robin, that they will not change and they're going to stay that way. But I say anyone can change.
I guess
We
yes.
don't know who's
So-
going to change.
But to come to the conclusion, right, for all our topics, I guess at the end, the conclusion is you should hear Prabhupada's lectures, hear Prabhupada's
Yeah.
Vanis. That's the real source of
If you
knowledge.
listen to
You'll get the
Prabhupada,
real source
you'll
from there.
become a devotee
Yeah.
of Krishna. That's all we want, is for people to hear Prabhupada and to chant
Exactly.
and repeat what Prabhupada says, not something else. So go ahead, Bhakti Raman,
Exactly.
let's have the comments. Are you there?
Yes, Prabhu, he's there,
Yes,
Prabhu.
yes,
One
Prabhu.
question.
Yes, I was
Yes,
just
Bhakti
I
Raman,
was
Prabhu.
just scrolling. Okay, so let me read the comments. 1 second.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Ratha Yatra Prabhu is saying, because because Rupa Manjari asked about his farm in India. So Ratha Yatra Prabhu is saying Karuna Farms is totally off-grid solar energy and hydropower from private waterfalls, free land to devotees. So he's so I think I will send this to Rupa Manjari via email, because she already left. Ratha Yatra Prabhu's farm in South India is called Karuna Farms. So I'm sure if you search it on Facebook, you will find it. Or
Yeah, it would be nice also, because we have written some things for Daiva Varnashram, how to do it properly.
okay, so I will send this to Rupa Manjari Prabhu's email. So Edwin
Yeah,
Chandra is
do you
saying,
have an email for Ratha Yatra?
no, unfortunately I don't have Ratha Yatra Prabhu's email. If you are still online, Ratha Yatra Prabhu, you can go to my channel also, and under the channel channel information on YouTube, there's my email address. Then I can forward it to Rupa Manjari if you want. Okay, so then Edwin Chandra is saying, wow, nice. Ratha Yatra Prabhu is saying, thanks, Bhakta Robin, for facilitating. Then True Detective is asking a question, is Malati Jewish?
Malati? That's interesting. I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay.
What's Malati's Karmi name?
So
I never even
I don't
thought
know.
if she's Jewish or not.
Okay, so then True Detective is saying Urmila is Jewish. That is true. She is the former wife of Pratyatosa Prabhu. I know him. I know Pratyatosa Prabhu personally. So then Edwin Chandra is saying, what about Tamal Krishna Maharaj? Some devotees said he was German actually.
No, he was Jewish.
Well,
Both
look at me, you know.
His mother and father were both Jewish.
I'm also German, and I'm also Jewish, you know. So like I'm also Jewish, you know. Like my great grandmother was Jewish.
Who's talking?
Robin.
Oh, you're part Jewish.
Yeah, my great grandmother is also Jewish, you know. So I'm also Jewish.
Yeah, sort of. It goes through the maternal line, of course.
Yeah, from my maternal side, yeah.
So, Prabhu, if you've done with the comments, I have a last question, right? Which you discussed with me was something else also. So I want to discuss that. After reading the comments, just let me know, right? Haribo?
Okay, so then there's more comments about then the other Rob is saying it doesn't matter, just believe in Krishna. Then True Detective is saying Radhanath is Jewish, yes. Edwin Chandra is saying if Tamal Krishna killed Prabhupada, then why did they kill Tamal Krishna in that freaking accident? And then
they killed. They didn't kill Tamal because he killed Prabhupada. They rewarded themselves by Tamal and others. There were probably up to 20 people that were involved in poisoning Prabhupada. It wasn't just 1 or 2 or 3 on the side. I mean, we can say directly it was Tamal, and we can say directly it was Bhavananda. It was say directly it was Jaipataka. But aside from that, there were so many others that knew about it. Narayan Maharaj, not Narayan Maharaj, but Narayan Das, who became told me a whole story about how there was in Vrindavan a South American kid sweeping the balconies but everybody thought he was a Indian. So they were talking openly about poisoning Prabhupada in the room, and about 9 people. And it turns out that the young man was South American, not Indian. And when they found out, they went to South America to try to find him.
Yeah,
so
I read this story. I read this story. He was very afraid of Tamal Krishna, you know. So I think Tamal was the kind of person you're happy when he leaves the room, you know.
Yeah, well, I knew Tamal very well. My problem is that Tamal is my Vartna Pradaksha Guru. It is he who convinced me to become a disciple of Prabhupada. Or I would have killed him when I heard him saying that Prabhupada was old, senile in the early 70s.
Well, many people are still saying this now, you know. There's one guy on our WhatsApp group, you know, he said Tamal killed Prabhupada because he's a senile old man, you know, very offensive guy, you know. His name is Subal, you know, he's constantly offending Prabhupada, you know. He has the same mentality as Tamal Krishna.
I don't know who he could be or how he could draw that conclusion, but
well, he's an offender, you know. He's saying, okay, it's good Tamal killed Prabhupada because Prabhupada was a senile old man, you know. This is the conclusion of this.
What I get to the satisfaction I have when people say that is he was lying on his back. His kidneys had failed a month before. You can't live without kidneys. His kidneys had failed a month before, and he continued to translate the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam consistently as he lay on his back. If he's senile, how he could do that?
Yeah, that's very good, you know. That's also what I say, you know. They called Prabhupada also the Gagamuni was saying they called Prabhupada the 70-year-old young man, you know. And when he was doing a morning walk, then even 20-year-old man couldn't keep up with Prabhupada, you know. He was so strong, you know. Even 20-year-old man couldn't walk as fast as Prabhupada.
Remember, Prabhupada was not operating from a body. He is the spirit soul walking, using the body, just like a person is riding a bicycle. He is not the bicycle. And we may see that bicycle moving, say, oh, what a powerful bicycle. But it's actually the soul. Prabhupada is a pure devotee. And he was empowered by Krishna to do everything.
So we have more.
Our next pleasurable realm will be indulging in Prabhupada instead of in politics.
Okay, so we have more. We have another important comment here. He is saying if I have been doing genealogy for 39 years, this Aristophanes. So maybe I think Narayan Prabhu is in contact with Aristophanes and he could email him, you know. Maybe you can email him.
I email him frequently.
So you can, he has been doing genealogy for 39 years. So maybe you can email him all the names. And then
genealogy of who?
Now, he's an expert apparently in genealogy. So maybe you can send him the list of the 11 names and then he can do his analysis.
That's a good point. I try to get, do you have any data on the birth names of everybody involved? And their families, their parents' birth names?
No, we could only try Wikipedia, you know, like maybe the famous ISKCON gurus, they have like a Wikipedia page and maybe it lists their birth name.
No, just need their name. I knew all these people before they were anybody. Like Jai Tirtha was my roommate in Los Angeles for a couple of years. I knew Bhagavan. Bhagavan was Jewish. I knew Bhagavan well when I went to Detroit and set up his temple for him. And Jayapataka, I never knew. I met him for 10 minutes. He came through the Los Angeles temple, then he took off for India. That was the last I saw of him. But Jai Tirtha, I knew well, roommates, and who else? Rameshwar, I knew extremely well. I worked closely with him. On the, I designed I don't know if you're aware, but I was the director and I designed all the illustrations for the Srimad Bhagavatam from fifth canto, the middle of fifth canto to the first quarter of 10th canto. So Rameshwar and I worked very closely.
Yeah, so I would just say, you know, maybe you can remember to email this Aristophanes. I don't know what his initiative name is, but maybe you can email him and, you know, figure this out with him together, you know.
I don't, are you into Greek theater? Do you know Greek theater?
No, Prabhu, I'm unfortunately not educated in this field, you know, like.
Okay, let me just say, I'm a little bit educated. Let me say, Aristophanes, his name that he's taken is a stage name, Aristophanes. Aristophanes is a famous Greek playwright.
Okay,
You know?
Aristophanes. It's called Aristophanes, okay? That's the correct pronunciation.
Aristophanes. If you look up
Aristophanes.
Aristophanes, he just took that name because he was so fond of the plays by Aristophanes. As am I, you know. There was a play called Lysistrata, and I forget, there's another one and I slipped my mind at this hour of the night.
Yeah, sorry, Prabhu, I'm not educated in this kind of cultural education, you know.
No,
I
I
don't know
was
about it.
I was a literature major in college.
Yes,
And
my
I'd
my
already-
relative,
I'd
my
already
aunt, my aunt also knows all this thing, all this stuff, you know. But I'm like kind of culturally uneducated, you know. So,
Oh, okay. Is your aunt still alive?
sorry, can you repeat?
Oh, your aunt is still alive?
Yeah, they're still living, you know. My cousin, he's also a painter and stuff like this, you know. So we have some
Yeah.
of these artistic people also, but I'm not, you know, I'm not one of them, you know.
No, that's fine. That's fine. You don't have to be artistic. Artistic, in a sense, is a liability in many cases in life. But so that it was I don't know his Karmi name, his genuine name, but Aristophanes is the name he uses. So he calls himself Aristo, his first name, and Phanes for his last name. I email him several times a week.
Okay, so we can close this. I guess you can work it out with him and then report back. And then we have another important comment from Ratayatra Prabhu. He's saying, now Narayan Das, I will send you an email today, 11 a.m. India now. I have your email address. Please promote our farm in Tamil Nadu, South India. We have facilities for devotees and our own Govinda restaurant. So he will
That's
send
wonderful.
you an email and then you can forward it to Rupa Manjari.
Could you ask him, how did he fund that project?
Yeah, I think he's still listening. Ratayatra Prabhu, if you're still listening, now Narayan Prabhu is asking, how are you funding the program, or how did you fund it? Okay, Mohit Prabhu, please go ahead. We finished all the comments now.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Glory to
Krishna.
know, but Robin, I hope you come on often. It may be inconvenient for your time schedule in Germany. Which city in Germany do you live?
Yeah, in Western Germany, it's like just a small city. You will not know it.
Okay, near what big city?
Yeah, like Cologne, somewhere around, it's like a couple of 100 kilometers from Cologne.
Yeah, I've never been to Cologne. I've been to, where have I been? I went to the Buchmesse in Frankfurt. And
I know Frankfurt, yeah. I've been there. It's more...
Frankfurt is far away?
Yeah, like 250 kilometers, very far.
Got it, yeah. In Europe, 250 kilometers. In America, 250 kilometers is a short distance. In Germany, it's a big distance.
So Rasa Yatra Prabhu was saying he's financing his program with Mahamsa Swami. I don't know what this means. I asked, how is he financing? And he replied, Mahamsa Swami.
Yeah. I know Mahamsa Swami. I'm trying to remember more details right now. I can't think. Well, that's wonderful. So good. We can help him ideologically, I think. I have a whole paper printed out how to do the theology of the farm community. In other words, you have to ultimately you have to structure it with Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and then the land should be owned by Lord Jagannath or Krishna, but Lord Jagannath, I'd like to say. And then when you have that structure, then it will work extremely powerfully. But you have to have Kshatriyas because nowadays things are not so certain.
So
Anyhow, this has been wonderful.
Ratayatra Prabhu replied. Ratayatra Prabhu replied. He's saying now Narayan Das should know Mahamsa Swami. Srila Prabhupada, first Indian sannyas who started Karuna farms after resigning from GBC.
Yeah, I know Mahamsa. I'm trying to remember what the context is.
No, it's the context is about the farm.
I have the world's worst memory. I actually have a debility, dyslexia, and hard for me to remember things like names and people putting them together.
It's related to the farm, you know. Ratayatra Prabhu has a farm called Karuna Farms.
I know, but when did I meet Mahamsa Swami? Where did I meet Mahamsa Swami? Say in 1972 or 3 or, yeah, in 1971, 2 or 3, where did I meet Mahamsa Swami? Was he in Bombay or where was he?
So I think this is very important because I don't know if you got my emails, but I sent you a couple of emails about Prabhupada's statement that blood will be flowing in the streets of America when Prabhupada talked with Yogi Bhajan. So in my opinion, this according to my astrologic research, this economic collapse is going to happen in 2025. And one astrologer, he said that the big world war is happening in 2030 and 2031. So, you know, that's why I think...
Well, Prabhupada gave us plenty of warning how to set up Daiva-Varnashram communities. And if we had done that, set them up according to Daiva-Varnashram, meaning the 4 Varnas and 4 ashramas and only Desi cows, if we had done that, then it would be exemplary to the rest of us all over the world to quickly set up these things using that as a model.
We got to reply. We got to reply. So Ratayatra Prabhu is saying you met him in the 1970s in Bombay, and they will contact. We will contact him.
Yeah, that's good. But what was he doing in Bombay?
He's saying Mahamsa was in charge of Yuhu Hyderabad.
Well, that's afterwards. Because when I was in India, only till 1973, living there. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I got
His name
up
is absolutely
because of
familiar.
the eclipse today. There was a big lunar eclipse today, so I had to get up in the middle of the night and chant, you know, do chanting, you know, because it counts 1,000 times, you know. That's why.
And you have to keep your curtains covered so that the energy can't come into your place.
Yeah. I still have everything blacked out, you know. So that's why I was just watching the ISKCON Bangalore Narasimha Jayanti video and was chanting, you know, and then I saw your video pop up on YouTube, you know. So that's why I joined.
So you came in. So it was very auspicious. So we have taken that inauspicious moon showing and made an auspicious conversation of how to restore ISKCON.
Well, it's very auspicious for spiritual life. You know, if you chant 3 hours during the eclipse, it's equal to 3,000 hours chanting.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So Ratayatra Prabhu is saying, thanks, Bhakta Robin, we will contact him. So I think he will contact, Ratayatra Prabhu will write an email to you.
Excellent.
He's saying,
that's good.
Narayan Das is on fire.
Well, my email address is nathan.zakheim@gmail.com. It's not Nara Narayan.
Wait,
Nathan
bro.
dot-
I'll type it here, bro. I'm typing it here. Yeah.
Okay, NATHAN dot ZAK.
Yeah, he said he has your email. He said he has your email.
Oh, okay, good.
Well, I think, I don't know if it's your autism or something like this, but you should really get this website going. What about the website? I sent you so much content, like I have to say my father is a German engineer, like my
You
father's
sent me
side is an
content.
engineer.
I didn't recall getting any content from you.
No, I sent you and Ronald an email with like 30 videos, I created from the Ishtagoshti
Oh, I
meeting.
see. Should send to Rupa Manjari, because she's in
Yeah, I
charge
sent
of
it to
the.
all of them, to all three, to you,
Oh, I
to
see.
Rupa Manjari, and to Ronald,
Okay,
I'm
well, we
just,
need to-
I'm.
She's supposed to be making the website.
Well, but it's getting nowhere, I'm not being rude or, I'm just saying,
No,
for
no,
so
no.
many weeks, it's
I
not
agree
getting
with
anywhere,
you. It's getting nowhere. Yeah,
I'm
we need it.
It's
I
only
started so
1
much-
hour, it only take 1 hour. It only takes 1 hour to put this stuff on the content management system, it's ridiculous, I don't know why it's not happening.
Okay, how do we do it?
Well, normally if you have a website, then you have a content management system, and then you just log in and you just put the stuff on there, Vinayak also offered to do it, but as
Okay,
now he's
that's
working,
great.
now
Well,
he.
we'll do it. Well, what I want to do is do it and make it open to everyone on this, so that you can do it also yourselves, without going through anybody.
Well, I think Rupa Manjari has my email, she can contact me, if she needs help, I emailed her also a couple of times. So
Okay.
if she needs help with the website, then she should contact me, I'm also on
Well, we
Messenger.
also have a
and stuff.
webmaster who is ready to run the website, but we haven't given him content yet.
Well, I have created so many videos, I have created like maybe 30 or more videos of you, just from the Ishtagoshti meetings. If I see anything
Really?
interesting that's of importance, then I watch the 2-hour videos, and some other devotees sometimes help me. And then he says, okay, at this timestamp, there's an important thing. And then I cut it out, I take like a 5-minute segment, or, like about the direction of management, I created a 30-minute segment, and then I put it on YouTube.
So you say you've sent all of that already?
Yeah, I've sent it to Ronald, to Rupa Manjari, and to you, to all
I'm
three
not
of them.
aware of receiving it from you.
Yeah, that's why I'm
I'm not
saying,
aware of
it's kind
But
of
I'll
difficult
talk
to
to, I'll
get in
talk to
touch with all
Ronald
of
and Rupa and have them put it up, hopefully immediately.
Well, Rupa Manjari, she got it from me as well, I sent it to her as well, so she can just search my name in her Gmail.
She can
Okay.
search, and we'll get back to this, bro. It has been a long time since, we've been talking about this, bro. Haribol. So,
Okay,
bro,
Haribol.
the last question which Bhakta Robin Prabhu was discussing with me the last 2 months back, I guess 1 month back, was that Hitler's case, right, Prabhu? So, Prabhupada commented on Hitler being the, hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Shaktavish avatar.
Shaktavi, exactly. So, Bhakta Robin Prabhu was like, Narayan Prabhu has not
Well,
addressed
the question is,
that point.
when we
so
say
he can discuss
Shaktavish
that.
avatar, we could say Buddha or Parsuram, but Parsuram was pretty ferocious. But there are a lot of Shaktavish avatars that appear, Hitler being amongst them, and their job is to destroy. They're not there to lead people towards goodness. Their job is to destroy what is there, like Hitler destroyed Europe.
Yeah, it's actually horrible what happened in Germany, from my my aunt, she married a German who also fought in the Second World War, and he's told me many stories, it's very horrible what happened there,
It was horribly
But
horrible.
And
if it's
So
a
we could say
Shaktavish
Hitler being
avatar,
okay,
if
go
it's
ahead.
the avatar, so Krishna sent that, right? So that's for the good of the people, right? But it's but it's like very bad to have those experiences, but it's good because Prabhupada said that he was a Shakti Veshavata, right?
Yeah,
he
but
was
Shakti
falling from-
Vishavatar, we should not confuse Shakti Vishavatar with somebody coming to do good.
Okay.
When Parsuram came, he wasn't doing anybody any good. He killed everybody, all the Kshatriyas.
But that's the order of
But
Krishna,
that was
right?
good, you know, Prabhu. That was very good because there were demons, you know. So what
Exactly.
Parshuram did was very good.
And I think they escaped and became Germans.
But Prabhu, in Hitler's case, Prabhu, so what is your point of view? If
They came to Germany bringing the swastika with them, because the swastika is the sign of the emblem of the Kshatriyas because of the sun planet. Arjuna had the swastika on his
Prabhu, I
chariot.
was in Japan, and there was a swastika everywhere, you know. When I visited Japan in 2009, and, you know, I went on a mountain and there were swastikas everywhere, you know.
Well, they may have been Kshatriyas at one time. In China, you'll find, I had rugs from China with swastikas woven in, and the Navajo Indians in the Midwest, they have swastikas also.
So, Prabhu, Hitler's ways of doing bad things, is it proven? Is it proven good? Because since he was a Shakti Veshavata, so
Well,
I mean, the God sent him to
is
do that.
it good that he destroyed the structure? See, Germany had a wonderful structure with the nobility, von this and von that, all of the very, highly, and they had a very tight structure. And Hitler came and got all of them into the Waffen SS. Into the SS, under Himmler. So what happened is that getting these people there, they became the glorious leaders of the Third Reich. Third Reich means what? It means, what is the Second Reich? As far as I can tell, Second Reich means, what's his name? Barbarossa, Frederick the Great. He failed to unify Europe under Germany. And so Hitler, with the same Hakenkreuz and with the same this and also the sword of the spear of destiny, the spear that pierced Christ's side, and was in a museum in Austria. Hitler, as soon as he gained power, had a parade bringing the Heilige Lanz on a platform all the way into Germany, so that he would succeed, because Frederick the Great had the Heilige Lanz on him. And when he failed, it was because the lance fell into the river. Somehow they got it out again. I don't remember how. But the thing is that the Heilige Lanz is the spear that pierced, supposedly, this is Christian mythology, but this is the spear that pierced the side of Jesus on the cross by the Roman centurion. I'm trying to remember his name. He was a devotee. He became a disciple of Jesus also. Longinus. So the spear of Longinus is the Heilige Lanz. Heilige Lanz means sacred spear, and in German. And so all of that mythology was there, including Jesus being put on in between two layers of silk that one of his disciples, who was a Roman, had, and took him to the tomb, which belonged to that Roman. And there was argument that because there was an image on the Shroud of Turin, which was the cloth that was covered Jesus, there's an argument that he wasn't even dead. And there's an argument that he wasn't dead from the cross, and that they pierced his side to see if he was still alive. They took him down alive. The other two, the two criminals that were there, thieves, they broke their legs to kill them. But with Jesus, they took him down alive. And he came there, and then they rolled the stone in front of his place. Then they opened it up again, and Mary Magdalene and the Mother Mary and he and Thomas. You know, Thomas means twin in Aramaic. That Thomas went with Jesus, and they went through the Middle East, went towards Tibet, and ended up with actually a tomb of Mother Mary somewhere between Jerusalem and Tibet and Kashmir. And then he ended up, and he has a tomb or a death, a grave place in Kashmir that has been seen by devotees. But anyhow, and then he sold Thomas. Thomas means twin in Aramaic. He sold Thomas into slavery to an Indian gentleman who then took a trader, who then took him to South India, to Kerala, where Thomas created the Christian church in Kerala. That's why he did it. He was sent there as a slave.
We have more comments here. Aristophanes is saying spear of
Prabhu,
Longinus.
wait a sec. Haribol, wait a sec. We have a guy called I Am Listening. Can he introduce yourself? There's some guy, right? Haribol? Bhaktarab Prabhu, are you there?
Yes, I'm there, but I think I Am Listening, he doesn't have a microphone, you know. Otherwise, his name wouldn't be I Am Listening. That's
So okay. So let's cut out Prabhu now. Because it has been too much time. It's overtime, right? So we can have comments later. You can save them. We can see them later, bro.
You think so?
And,
okay. I agree. You know, let's end it here. You know.
Okay.
Yes. Coming to the conclusion,
at least read the comments so whoever commented will feel acknowledged.
Read it, bro. Yeah.
So I just have one more comment here. Ratayatra Prabhu is saying, no, after 2 heart surgeries, Mahamsa Swami is turning the farm over to pro-Ritvik devotees before he leaves his body. So apparently this Mahamsa Swami had 2 heart surgeries and he might be leaving the body soon. So he's turning his own farm over to Ratayatra Prabhu and others.
Good. And let's try to train ourselves not to use the word Ritvik, but to use the word,
exactly.
Use the word officiating Acharya. Prabhupada used that term in May 28th, and he used it also on July 9th. Tamal insisted on using Ritvik, and that Ritvik hadn't appeared. He did it because it was unusual. So
I'm just quoting, you know, I'm just quoting what Ratayatra Prabhu wrote here, you know.
No, I'm saying for the benefit of Ratayatra, he should stop using the word Ritvik.
Prabhu is saying for all of us, Prabhu. He's saying for all of us that
I don't like the word Ritvik because I'm not a disciple of Tamal.
He's not commenting on the Prabhu. He's not commenting on the comment. He's saying all over. Let's not use the word Ritvik because it has been used by Tamal Krishna Maharaj. Let's use the word officiating Acharya. So he's telling us from the last 2-3 ISKCON, let's use this word rather than using Ritvik.
Use Prabhupada's word, not Narayan Maharaj's word.
Haribol, Jai. Yeah.
Okay, so please improve your communication and let me know if you need any help with the website, you know, because I sent you all the content. Okay, thank you very much. Haribol.
Hare Krishna, please accept my
Hare Krishna, let's come to the Haribol, Dhanvat Pranam. Let's come to the conclusion. Let's chant Hare Krishna as Prabhupada wanted. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Haribol, Jai.
Haribol, all goes to Srila Prabhupada.
ISKCON means jivas speaking with each other. That means we're all equal. Nobody's big, nobody's small.
Haribol. Jai, Jai
Prabhupada.
Haribol. See you soon. Jai Prabhupada.
This is fantastic.